token patriot, God-fearing patriot. Bryson, why they mad? Cause I'm real and they be faking it. Free speech advocate, it's on my mind, I'm saying it. I'm about to buy another gun and ain't nobody taking it. Gun toting, Bible reading, God believing, truth speaking American. This MAGA season, Democrats committing treason. I know they think it's sweet, but you don't know who you dealing with. This for free thinkers only. You ain't got no membership. They free General Flynn out the cage cause he innocent. Barton Roger Stone cause the run know that he innocent. We need to kick out every single illegal immigrant. Mandatory voter ID laws we need to implement. Tell Jussie Smollett that I know this MAGA country. Tell China we know they.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live. I have Quinn Wright backstage, and we are going to start in a few seconds. Just wanted to let everybody know that this is a closed interview, so there will not be a StreamYard link in the chat to join us. And we're just going to give Quinn all of our time and energy and attention tonight. So I'm going to play my political intro, and we're going to get right into it. Hello, Quinn.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be on your show.
Yes, I'm just going to say hello to everybody in the chat. Vern, Keith, Rebecca, Jeff, sorry. Awesome. You know what I forgot to tell you, Quinn, is that my son is named Quentin, and I call him Quinn as a nickname. I'm always yelling, Quinn!
Yeah, that's probably synchronistic that maybe we have past lives together or something. There's some synchronicity going on there.
That's crazy that you mentioned that, because I just had an interview with Denise Wise from the UK, and we were talking about past lives. And I told her I have like such a connection with things that I didn't think I would. And she's like, you probably had a past life, giving your information. And I have yet to text Denise so that she could let me know about like past lives and things like that. But that's crazy, right? Like my middle name's Quinn, your name's Quinn. I call my son Quinn, and his name is Quentin. Like there's too many connections, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so just to let everybody know, the audience, we're streaming on both channels, so we might not be able to see, or you guys might not be able to see everybody's like chats, but I can see everybody's chats. So we'll try to, keep everybody, together with us on the timeline. And I do not know who Quinn Wright is. I mean, this is like the first time we get into contact. I don't know your background story at all. I haven't done like an interview with you or anything. This is just purely about political ideas and thoughts and opinions. So I want to target that. And maybe like another time I can do an interview that I can just do like you and like your XJW story. But tonight is just going to be total politics. Every Tuesday, this is what I do. So I want to thank you so much for being willing to talk about politics, because you know how hard it is for us. That's why I put that disclaimer in the beginning. Like, this is new for us. Sometimes we don't know everything, but it's like we're getting there. So that's what I wanted to like ask you, and to just see if how much information you're willing to to give our community on how did you overcome your neutrality, because that's the struggle for all of us. So tell me, how did you do it?
So I think the best thing to do, maybe if I can go right into my presentation, because it sort of it'll walk you through each step of the way how I came to where I'm at now.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to add your video to the stage. Okay, I'm going to mute myself and you go ahead.
Okay, so basically what I want to show first is that I've been following Donald Trump since before he ran for president. I remember back in the 90s, being African American, that Trump was very well respected in the Black community. And Black people are not dummies. They basically know when people are racist. In fact, sometimes even when sometimes Black people think that people are racist even when there is no racism. Sometimes they're overly zealous to think someone's being racist. So a racist person does not skip a Black person's notice. But Donald Trump was always respected in the Black community. They were gangster rappers that would always quote Donald Trump. People looked up to him. So I want to show this quick video for those who aren't familiar with this to show that this is how Black people thought of Donald Trump before he ran for president. And this was in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from the show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Mm-hmm.
You how thin you looking lately. No, especially around your chins. I mean, oh, damn.
That must be him. Now, we're doing the right thing, aren't we? We should set.
So the setting is that a very wealthy person wants to buy their house, but they don't know who the buyer is yet.
Oh my God, she's buckling, Dad. Throw some cold water on her. Carlton.
Of course we're doing the right thing, sweetheart.
Sir, it is my esteemed pleasure to introduce Mr. and Mrs. Donald Trump. It's the Donald! Oh my God!
Mr. and Mrs. Trump, it's an honor to meet you.
Well, it says Klein got a rich uncle, but Donald Trump. I like keeping a low profile.
Hi, Hillary Banks.
Hey, Hillary.
You know, you look much richer in person.
Hey, Mr. Trump. Hey, how you doing? Will Smith. Hey, listen, you are getting a great house here. And this is quite a deal you're getting for it, too. Let me tell you what. You want another 50 grand? I'll cut the grass for you every Saturday.
But folks, before we go too far, I've got something to tell you.
Excuse me, but I've got something to tell you first. Thank you for ruining my life.
Ashley!
What did you do?
Everybody's always blaming me for everything.
Come on, let's sit down and sign some papers.
Mr. Banks, there's been a little mistake. Mr. Trump's nephew grew up at 508 St. Cloud Road.
And all this time I thought our address was 805 St. Cloud Road.
It is Hillary.
Very embarrassing. Apparently I inverted the numbers. I don't know what to say except I'm sorry.
That makes two of us.
Well, that's business. Let's go down the street. I brought cash. It's quicker.
Nice meeting you all. It's just as well. It's too much of a fixer-upper.
Vivian? What happened? Donald Trump walked in and you passed out. Donald? Where is he? He'll be the guy carrying the millions of dollars in cash. Can you hurry up, man?
Oh, well, I guess this makes you.
So does that look like a racist man?
No.
And that's basically what I remember growing up. Donald Trump was always respected. So it wasn't until he ran for president in 2016 that suddenly, oh, the man's a racist. And so I remember back before they called him a racist, that when they started calling him a racist in 2016, the first thing I thought of, he's not a racist. So I could see through that. Now, the fact that I was a Jehovah's Witness, I didn't get too much into it, but I could see right away that, okay, well, how does a man that's, what is he now, like almost 80, so he doesn't become a racist till he's about 65 years old? Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So, and this is what happens when you run in politics and you try to change something. See, the difference with Donald Trump is he's a billionaire, so he can't be bought off like these other politicians, and that's what some people don't understand. So if somebody like him comes into the game, he can't be controlled. He can't be bought off. So the people who have their agendas, if they can't control him, the only thing they can do is try to destroy him. So the first thing they try to do is say he's a racist. Now there's just a couple more that I want to show you. And please jump in at any point. But this next one, so I'm going to break down basically how the media takes something that Donald Trump says. So they'll take a clip of something that he said and then slander him. And then it turns into this big story. So, and this incident, and again, I watched this in real time, and this was more recent. This is jumping ahead to the pandemic time. So, during all the White House briefings, So during COVID, every day Donald Trump did these White House briefings where he would talk to the press for like an hour or 2 hours a day. And I watched every single one of these briefings live, not a clip on CNN. I watched the whole live conferences, and I could see that it was rigged against him. So the reporters had no interest in what was really going on with COVID. Their only motive was to try to catch Donald Trump saying something, make him say something, and then take a clip and then make a video about it and then slander him. So in this case, what the reporters kept asking him was they kept saying something to the effect of, do you have absolute power, Donald Trump? And he kept saying, well, no, I leave the power to the states. And they kept asking him, but do you have absolute power? And he kept repeating himself saying, well, he's working with the states because he wants the states to pretty much manage their own COVID stuff. He didn't really want to step in. He wanted to trust each state to handle COVID sort of how the states wanted to. So they kept asking him. So like 2 days straight, every time he walked into the room, but do you have absolute power? What if the states don't complete? Do you have absolute power? So finally he got frustrated because, he's not perfect. And the people that ask these questions, they're told by their bosses, who are probably psychologists, what questions to ask Trump. So they specifically had this plan, get this man to say he has absolute power. So they kept asking him and asking him. So finally he says it, like, yes, I do have absolute power, but he's trying to say that he only wants to use it if the states are basically not opening up, like if they're trying to not let people go back to work and things of that nature. So I want to just play a quick clip of how he says this, but then I want to show you how the media then set him up to lie about what he actually meant by this.
A state home. When you say my authority, the president's authority, not mine, because it's not me. This is when somebody's the president of the United States, the authority is total. And that's the way it's got to be.
Your authority is total.
It's total. It's total.
Your
And the
authority is
governors
total.
know that.
So if a
The governors know that. Now you have a couple of bands of excuse me. You have a couple.
Could you rescind that order?
You have a couple of bands of Democrat governors, but they will agree to it. They will agree to it. But the authority of the President of the United States having to do with the subject we're talking about is total.
It's been states that have closed, ordered schools closed. It's been states that have ordered businesses like restaurants.
That's because
and
I let
bars
that
closed.
happen. Because I would have preferred that. I let that happen. But if I wanted to, I could have closed it up. But I let that happen. And I like the way they've done it.
Compare that to big states and say, I order you to open your schools, I order you to force
Go ahead,
kids to be able to go.
Yes, Mr. President. Following up on that, there are two consortiums of states today, California, Oregon, Washington on the West Coast, northeastern states, totally representing about 100 million people, who said they're going to cooperate and decide when to reopen.
Well, they can
those
decide,
states.
but
Does that undermine what you're trying
no,
to do?
not at all. Let me just tell you, very simple. I'm going to put it very simply. The President of the United States has the authority to do what the President has the authority to do, which is very powerful. The President of the United States calls the shots. If we weren't here for the states, you would have had a problem in this country like you've never seen before. We were here to back them up, and we've more than backed them up. We did a job that nobody ever thought was possible. It's a decision for the President of the United States. Now, with that being said, we're going to work with the states because it's very important. You have local.
And that's the part that he was trying to say for the past 2 days, is that he's working with the states, but the reporters kept trying to make him say, but what if the states don't listen? Do you have total authority? And they kept saying it over and over until they got him to say the word total authority. But now just watch what he does next, or how they twist it.
Governments, they're pinpointed. It's really, you talk about, like a microchip. They're pinpointed. We have local government that hopefully will do a good job. And if they don't do a good job, I'd step in so fast. But no, they can't do anything without the approval of the President of the United States. Go ahead, please.
So if some states refuse to reopen and you order them to, the 10th Amendment to the Constitution says all powers that don't reside in the President or the Congress reside in the states. How do you overcome that?
Well, if some states refuse to open, I would like to see that person run for election.
So now look at the headlines, though. So Trump falsely claims the president has total authority over coronavirus restrictions. So the headline is just the fact that he's just claiming, like, basically he's a dictator. And now let me show you a couple other ones. Trump claim of total authority ignores federalism principles.
Mm-hmm.
Trump falsely claimed total authority over states. He's now backpedaling. So what they did was they then just put out all these stories that Trump is just a dictator and he just claiming he's so powerful and all this stuff. But what they didn't show you is that they kept asking him the same questions over and over and over and over. So then they spread these stories and make it seem like he's just this crazy dictator that says he has total authority. Now, the next one I want to show you, it gets more obvious how the media lies. So or here's another one. I can't see because our boxes are covering it up, but that's just another story. Something about he's neglecting the Constitution. Yeah, so they accuse him of neglecting the Constitution just because of those statements.
Mm-hmm.
So this is and this is a good example to really show how the media they twist things. So this was Trump's press house secretary, and this is her very first job this is her very first day as this job. That's what I meant. So her very first day in the job, and one of the reporters asked her and says, "Do you swear you'll never lie to us?" And that's kind of an odd question to ask anyway, right? Who asks a question like that? But if a reporter asks you a question like that, well, what are you going to say? Of course, you're going to say, well, yeah, I promise not to lie. Like, but what kind of question is that? But notice how they twist what she actually said. So I'm going to play the original clip because the news media never shows you the original clips of this stuff. So notice how they set her up and they kind of make her answer this question.
Bailey, welcome. Since it's been more than 100 days since the press secretary stood up there, I wanted to get a better sense of what your plan is. Are you planning to do these on a daily basis at this point? And also, will you pledge never to lie to us from that podium?
I will never lie to you. You have my word on that. As to the timing of the briefings, we do plan to do them. I will announce timing of that forthcoming, but we do plan to.
So notice that they asked her, will you pledge never to lie to us? Now, if you look to the left where it's highlighted, I'm not sure if I can read it. Let me blow up my screen, but
yeah, zoom in a little bit. It's a little blurry.
Yeah. Okay, so this person says, from my experience, I have discovered that when a dishonest person, or you know what, I can't, it's not as, it's kind of too blurry to read it, but they said something to the effect of,
the most dishonest people start relationships by saying they will not be dishonest.
Exactly. Right. So you see how quick it's twisted. So this person is making it seem like she's starting off her career by basically saying, oh, I'll never lie to you. But they asked her that question. Like, that's not something she came up with. So they asked her on the spot, do you pledge to never lie to us? So what is she going to say? Like, let me think about it. Of course, she's going to say, well, yeah, I promise not to lie. And anyone will answer the question the same way. If they ask Biden, do you pledge to never lie to us? What is he going to say? The same thing. But now they attack her because they asked her that question. So look at the headlines that, and they done this the rest of her career. They kept bringing this statement up. So I will never lie to you, Trump press secretary reveals in briefing. And look at the way they have her pointing like that. She didn't say it like that, right? You watch the same video I just played, but you see, this is how it starts. They make a fake photo. That's not the way she said it. And they accuse her basically like, I can't believe she said she would never lie. Who does that? When they asked her that question. So they and this is what they've always done to Trump. They have these questions on purpose to try to set them up. Then once they give the answer that they want, they'll then twist it and say, oh, look, how can she swear that she never lied? And then they kept saying, oh, she's nothing but a liar. And then she swore she never lied. But they asked her to say that. So what is she supposed to say?
Right. Okay. So let's just pause right there because you made a lot of great points. Because your very first point and the whole reason why you wanted to come on my show was because you wanted to to share information how Trump is not a racist, like to debunk some of the things that the media has been saying. And that's exactly what I've been talking about with Jimmy as well, how they tried to throw all these conspiracies, the media confuses people. I don't watch the news. Like, that's one of the reasons why I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV anymore, because they distort everything. They are dishonest about everything. And then they gaslight you into believing like, well, you're the problem. You should see these are the facts. And it's like, no, absolutely not. Because like you brought up in the very first video on the show, Donald Trump has been making appearances on TV shows, movies, like back in the early 2000s. Like, he was a very well-loved New Yorker. Like, I'm from New York. I remember Donald Trump was like a staple. He was like an icon. He was from Queens. He fixed the ice rink that the city couldn't even do with all of the millions of dollars that they had. And he did it within a few months, like within a year, something to that effect. And so that's what you're hearing, like all of the good things that he's done. Why doesn't the media report on that? Why doesn't the media report when Jennifer Hudson's whole family was murdered, that he let her live in one of his buildings? So those are all of the good things that come from Trump. But as soon as he entered into politics, and he was no longer in the club, like he says in one of those clips, that he used to be part of that club, and now he's out and he's telling us the truth about what really happens behind those closed doors, because he's in those rooms with those people with that kind of money, with what we call the deep state, right? That phrase comes up a lot, and unfortunately, I do feel like Trump knows them. I think he knows them. But as soon as he started running, that's when they turned on him, because he switched his party. I mean, that's another thing. He used to be a Democrat. Like, that's the truth. He used to, but that was like Democrat back in the day when they were actually not radical. You know what I mean? Not extremists.
They weren't evil then. They weren't evil.
Or at least they didn't show that face up front, because the Democrats were more for like the working class, social security, social programs, like they were helping affordable housing. So it was like, if you were poor or like lower income, you're a default Democrat, because you're going to vote for policies that are going to help you come up, So that's how when I woke up to politics, I was like, so what are we? And back in the day, it was kind of like, well, you would be considered a Democrat because you would most likely vote for these policies. The Republicans back then were like for rich people and for businesses and for tax cuts. So it wasn't really like our values, but that shifted and it became so radical that I cannot call myself a Democrat anymore, because they don't represent my values and things like that. So that's how I feel like they felt betrayed by Trump and they started attacking him. And so that's how, if anybody has seen the show with Jimmy, he says, that's what woke me up. Why are they attacking this guy so much? So when you start digging, you're like, okay, what happened here? He was in pop culture. He was in hip hop. You know how many rap songs had Donald Trump in it? How many videos he starred in? The Celebrity Apprentice. Hollywood loved him. And you see all of those clips, The View, all these shows, Wendy Williams. He was on everything and we loved him. All of a sudden now we hate him and we have to call him racist and we have to believe things that are not true. And so that's the reason why you wanted to come on and debunk some of those things. So this slideshow that you did is amazing. Like, I love you and your slideshows, because I've seen all of your videos like in other interviews and you have these wonderful slideshows. So this is awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It does take a lot of work to do that, but it's a good way to help get the information across. But one thing I wanted to touch on quick, what you said is, and the slideshow is going to get into a little bit later, but basically one thing about Trump, for example, is he fired somebody in the FBI and he's talked about the FBI being corrupt. The last time that we had a president that wasn't afraid to call out these three-letter agencies was Kennedy. And that's the problem, because all these other presidents were just going with the flow. We haven't had a president since Kennedy that actually spoke up and said that Washington was corrupt. Kennedy said something about he wanted to break the CIA up into 1,000 pieces because he recognized all this corruption.
Right.
And that's why he was taken out. So when you have someone who is doing the same type of things that Kennedy's done, and even though people think, oh, he's a racist, Kennedy, for example, one reason I hated Kennedy too is he was instrumental in civil rights and having things better for America, for African Americans. The deep state really didn't like that. So when you have someone like Trump that's doing the type of things that can be done, like he's really making a difference, that is why they need to take him out, why they hate him so much. So what they're using is, so there's this saying, and I want everyone to remember this saying. It's a very powerful saying. It says that when emotions are high, intelligence is low. Right? So remember that when emotions are high, intelligence is low.
Right.
So these deep state people understand that. So what they've done cleverly is they've decided that if they can get people's emotions so high, oh, Trump's a racist, Trump hates women, Trump's a misogynist, Trump tweeted this. People hate Trump so much that their intelligence is low because their emotions are so high. Their intelligence is so low that they don't even understand what they're voting for. They don't understand. So they would rather vote for a president that is sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, like by the billions. A president who already tried to force everybody to get vaccinated. Not everybody remembers that, but Biden tried to say, as soon as he got in office, that any company with 100 employees has to get vaccinated. But people are so, their emotions are so high over this Trump crap that just lies. Their intelligence is so low, like they don't even realize what they're voting for.
Exactly.
And that's what these people understand. So what they're basically trying to do with Trump is the more that they can assassinate his character and get people to hate him, they're not even going to see what this other government, this blue government, is actually doing. I don't mean all Democrats, but the Biden administration, they're already ruining the country. It's just a lot of people don't realize it because they're so focused on what Trump tweeted. Trump's not even in office anymore, and they're still worried about, they're more worried about what Trump's doing than what the guy is doing to the country now. So again, if they can keep people's emotions high, their intelligence is going to be low, and they're just going to be, I'm not voting for Trump, and they don't even know what they're voting for.
Right.
But sorry, I didn't mean to go off too much on that. I just wanted to mention that's really what it's about. Is Trump's making a difference. He's not afraid to call out these deep state people, so they have to take him out.
Yeah. Okay. So let's continue your slideshow. Okay,
so basically all of these others, like you can see, like Trump's new press secretary pledges not to lie from platform. So I kind of messed up with the slideshow. I should have made the text bigger so you could read the actual articles, but basically they just kept attacking her and they're saying no other press secretary has ever pledged not to lie. But they never asked any other press secretary that question. So you see, they set her up. They made her answer this question and then attacked her like there's something wrong with her. And then let me just go back a little bit. So this right here is another thing that they did to gaslight people. Okay, this one right here. So then obviously they wanted to do mail-in votes because it's easy to cheat. That's all. It's a no-brainer. You can cheat with mail-in votes. So they're now saying Trump press secretary defends her own mail-in votes after attacking expanded absentee ballot access, or I'm not sure how they have that written, but basically she used absentee ballot. And they're trying, and in this article, they're trying to say, oh, she's a hypocrite because she's talking trash about mail-in votes, but then she uses an absentee ballot. Well, an absentee ballot is not a mail-in vote. An absentee ballot is let's say, for example, you're going into the hospital the day of the voting day, and you can't be there because you're in a hospital. That's what an absentee vote is for. It's not the same thing as mass mail-in vote. So a lot of political people and a lot of people that are very busy, such as her, they may not actually go and vote. They may use an absentee vote, but that's not the same thing as a mass mail-in votes. But this is just more of them just trying to twist and just make up stuff. And then they say that that she's gaslighting America. So I just wanted to show a little bit how they attacked her too. But now I want to get into the deep stuff, because this is what I'm going to show you next is what really makes people hate Donald Trump. So I think it's important, especially for XJWs that are kind of naive to the media, on how the media twists things, who just believe, oh, I heard Trump say it. These next two things I'm going to show is the core reason why they get people to hate Trump. So this is the famous Trump remark about when Trump said he hates Mexicans. He hates Mexicans. Mexicans are rapists. So the clip that I'm going to play is a clip trying to make him look stupid, but in the small clip, you hear the truth a little bit, and you're going to hear what he actually says. So for those who aren't familiar with the whole story, that when Trump made a comment about Mexicans are rapists and things like that, which was an edited clip, he was talking about illegal immigrants coming in undocumented illegally. And he's saying that these people from Mexico who are coming in not illegally many times are rapists and criminals and things like that. And what some people don't understand about that is that it is true that you can come across the border legally, but some people that do it illegally are doing it because they are criminals. So when the borders are easy, a lot of people will come over the border, and if they come over undocumented, they're like a ghost. Like they can basically really commit all types of crimes because it's like they don't exist. And then you have sanctuary cities, which Obama set up sanctuary cities where there's certain cities where these same people can go and you can't arrest them. They can know, hey, this person committed a murder. Oh, they're in a sanctuary city. You can't do nothing. So what he's talking about is that all these people from Mexico that were criminals are rapists and things like that. But they tried to twist it and say that he just said Mexicans were rapists. But if you listen carefully what he says, he specifically says he's talking about the undocumented people here illegally. And what other people don't realize too that defend this stuff is that, you know, we all want to see people be able to prosper and have a better life. But when people come across the border undocumented in mass amounts, it affects the economy because the taxpayers are paying for this stuff. When people come over, like say, for example, somebody comes over without papers and they have to go to the ER and they get a $20,000 bill. Well, they're who's paying for that? The hospitals, the taxpayers are paying for it, but you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it directly, but so it is a problem to just let mass people come over undocumented. The whole thing is, if you want to come to the country, you just have to do it the right way. If we want to leave as Americans, we need to go get a passport, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But
exactly.
So you're going to see in this clip, like they're trying to make him look stupid, but notice very carefully how he's talking about undocumented or people coming over illegally.
Mm-hmm.
Mexicans, I get along great with everybody and everything having to do with Mexico.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. We have a tremendous danger on the border.
I'm going to get the bad ones out.
The hardworking, peaceful, undocumented immigrants here.
Illegal immigrants. We're talking about the illegal. The heroin problem comes right over the southern border. Not going to happen anymore. The first thing I need is a wall.
We're building the wall, believe me.
It's not going to be a wall that they just climb up.
We have a nice, strong border. We have a nice, beautiful wall. Now we're building the wall. And Mexico is going to pay for the wall.
How are you going to make them pay for the wall?
I will, and the wall just got 10 feet taller. The wall just got 10 feet higher.
The wall just got 10 feet higher.
There is no way that Mexico can pay a wall like that.
I have a great relationship with Mexico. How can I not love people that give me tens of millions of dollars for apartments? You have to love them.
So you see, they try to just make him look like a dictator and stupid. That's why they kept showing different clips to make him look like just an idiot. But I'm going to play again exactly what he said.
Get the bad ones out.
The hardworking, peaceful, undocumented immigrants here.
Illegal immigrants. We're talking about the illegal.
So you see, that's what he was saying the whole time.
Right.
But they took that on purpose. The reporters know who he was talking about, but then they spread to the whole media, he hates Mexicans. Mexicans are rapists. Mexicans are this, and that's how it happens. But
yeah.
And I wanted to say this with the utmost respect, but I just want to be blunt with this to those in the XJW community, is that this is what Watchtower has done to brainwash us. Right. What they do is they take a clip from the Bible, a clip, you could say, make up any meaning they want, narrate it for you, and tell you what it means. And we've been brainwashed by that because, when you read the Watchtower, it shows a clip. It has the scripture quoted. So we just, it's right there. It's coming from the Bible. But when you really look at the context of a lot of Watchtower teachings, it's all crap. The media does the same exact thing when they take parts of certain videos, especially Trump. They twist it, they edit it, and then they tell you this is what he said. And it's important, just as when we woke up to the Jehovah's Witnesses, we had to go back and look at the whole clips, so to say, right? The whole Bible verse, not just the Watchtower's narration of it. So I think that if we learned anything from Watchtower, we should be smart enough to not fall for the same brainwashing, to not just, okay, we're out of
Right.
watch right now, but oh, CNN said Trump said this. Oh, Trump's a racist and they showed a clip of him saying it. No, you got to watch the whole thing, because in this case, so many people said he's racist. He hates Mexicans, but it's right in the footage that he was talking about illegal Mexicans coming over from that border. That's what he's talking about.
Yes, no, we got to pause right there because that's a very great point. And this is 2016 Donald Trump. I feel like Donald Trump is not the same as he used to be. Quite honestly, he had that energy, he had that fire. That's the reason why we wanted to vote for him as patriots, as Americans, as Republicans, as conservatives, is because that was a value. That was like a fundamental value of having a secure border. For some reason, I do not know why the Democrats have come away from that, because I have never heard a Democrat actually say, I want a secure border. I want the drugs to stop. I want the illegal immigration to stop. I want the human trafficking to stop, because that's like it's almost like step 3 of how to bring illegal people and children, like human trafficking. And like Sound of Freedom, if you ever saw that movie, it's very heartbreaking. And it's like, well, how could this be happening in 2024? How could this be happening in the United States of America, one of the most powerful countries in the world? And it's stuff like this. It's like they purposefully leave things open. They don't do their jobs on purpose. Like I don't believe in inadequacy or like coincidence. I don't believe in that. I believe they purposefully do things and leave things unnoticed, unchecked, and the balances are not balanced. And the three system, the three executive, the 3 parts of government are supposed to be checking each other, and I feel like it's not happening. And so that's why we're seeing an imbalance, and people are getting frustrated. You can't even afford groceries anymore. There's illegal immigrants living better than Americans in the state of New York, literally right now. Like that's why I had to leave, because they will not provide affordable housing for a mother like me with 3 children. But if a mother like me with three children came in illegally and bust to New York City, they will be living in a 5-star hotel right now. Whereas I would not have the same opportunity as an American. So these are the things that we are talking about, is how we need to put America first. And that means putting Americans first, because they came in and they broke the law. See, that's the problem. They broke the law. Of course, we want immigration. That's one of America's, like, we're built on that, immigrants coming from all over the world. But you cannot come illegally, break the law, and literally get handed a debit card with money on it and live in a 5-star hotel, and your children can go to and get public education without getting vaccines, when they were forcing the vaccines on us and our American children. Like I'm very passionate about that. And that's why I feel like 2016 Donald Trump, I would vote for 1,000 times over, because now we're seeing the consequences of what happened when America first is not first. We're last. America's last. Illegal immigrants are being put first right now. So that's the personal frustration for me. And I'm glad that you brought that up, is because there was no other politician that was running on those values, only Donald Trump. And then they want to attack him and they want to say that that's racists. No, that's an American value. If you are an American, you should want the same things. And if you don't, then that's honestly, personally, that's a problem, because we have how many homeless veterans, how much homelessness in each state. California is one of the number one, one of the top 3 states, I think, that has homelessness. Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's that governor doing? And that's a Democrat city, the cities that the homelessness was having an overflow of homelessness. Why? If we have so much money, why are we sending it to Ukraine? Why are we supporting Israel? Why are we supporting every other country except our own? So that's kind of what woke me up to politics and made me really patriotic. How about you?
Well, what you just said, I'm going to answer that towards the end of the slideshow with some of those same questions. But basically, it's on purpose. You're right. So Biden is playing the roles. The thing is, I'm not saying he's not really going senile and he's not dealing with dementia. He probably really is, but he's playing a role. So basically, because Biden can do all this stupid stuff because people are just going to think, oh, it's because he's old. That's the role he's playing. If Obama did the stuff Biden did, people would wake up to the fact they're trying to destroy the country on purpose. So by having someone like Biden be their spokesperson, they can get away with all of this stuff because people just think, oh, Biden just doesn't know what he's doing. But Biden is being controlled. When Kamala takes over, it's the same thing. You're voting for the same people. It's just the mouthpiece is different, but it's the same people. So, and I'm going to get into a little bit later, but basically, they're trying to destroy the country on purpose. It's not it's by design because these people that want to do this New World Order stuff, Great Reset, it doesn't work because America is powerful and people in America have guns and they're not going to give up their rights and they're not going to deal with a government that's just going to come in and walk all over them and take away all their rights. So America is actually a backbone of these globalists not succeeding with their plans. So the whole idea is that they're trying to destroy America from the inside so that they can make their other people their superpower. So what's going on is very deliberate. It's not because they're just incompetent. They want you to believe it's because of that. Oh, Biden's sending billions of dollars because he doesn't know what he's doing. No, Biden is being told to send all of the money there to destroy the economy on purpose. Biden was told, open up the borders, let these people come in to destroy things. It's on purpose, but that statement I said earlier, when emotions are high, intelligence is low. So people are so wrapped up in Trump said this, Trump that. They're being stupid, to be honest. And I do believe everybody has the right to vote how they want to write. I don't want to come across the wrong way, but I'm just being honest. It's pretty stupid to just because you don't like Trump to not be concerned with an administration that's destroying this country. When you send other countries money by the billions and all that stuff that they're doing, it's ruining the country. But people don't even care because like, oh, Trump's a jerk. Did you see what Trump tweeted? He's a racist. And here's the thing. Oh, go ahead.
Right where you're talking about. That this is what I want to bring up this comment so you could quickly comment on this as well. For the prosecutor, not the felon. So that's another thing because I think that's also important. They weaponized the justice system and a state tried to prosecute a president, and that's not how it works. You know, he's the president is like, for the federal. So it would have to be a federal case. And so a state kind of went over bounds and did what they did to Trump to make it look like he's a felon, to make it look like he's convicted, to make it look like he's guilty. But in my opinion, he's not because he was impeached twice. And so if he did any illegal activities, that would have came out when he was the president, but it didn't. So why wait 7 to 10 years later for the state of New York to try to convict him now? So that's what you were talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, and if Trump was such a criminal, why wasn't he arrested before he even ran for president, right? Because he's such a bad guy. He's a racist. He's a rapist. Yeah. He hates black people. He's not paying his taxes. So why didn't they arrest him before? No, it's not until his term is almost up the first time. Oh, now we gotta, because basically the slander didn't work. All the false charges didn't work. So like they're trying to do whatever they can. And now even with these fake charges don't work, now they're shooting bullets at the guy. Right. So, I mean, it's pretty clear that they're just trying to do everything they can to stop him. But what people don't understand is that they're trying to destroy this country. So if they can get people to focus on, I hate Trump, and that's what the whole thing is about, they're not really understanding what's going on. So in all honesty, I don't care if Trump was a racist. I don't care if Trump showed up at a rally with the Ku Klux Klan hoodie on and everything. I don't care if Trump burns crosses on the weekends. I would still vote for that because you're voting for the policy. It doesn't matter who this guy is. Do I want rights or do I want a New World Order government? Right. So I don't really care what Trump does. He could be a racist, but I would be stupid to say, okay, I'm going to vote for an administration that's going to try to force me to take a vaccination that's going to destroy our country. Just because I think the guy's a racist. But see, again, when emotions are high, intelligence is low. The media knows that. The controllers know that. That's what they're doing. They're keeping our emotions so high of, oh, I hate Trump. They don't even see what's going on. But that's partly why I wanted to show this information in this slideshow, because I wanted to show that these allegations are all fraudulent. Most of them are fraudulent. But it's just to get people to hate Trump so much that they don't understand what the other side is actually doing.
Yes. Okay. So you want to go back to, let's go back to your slideshow and let's continue.
Okay, so that was the whole Mexico thing. So you clearly see who he was talking about. He talking about legal immigrants. So this is the big one.
Mm-hmm.
The statement where Trump supposedly supported neo-Nazis. He said there was fine people on both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
before I play, and this is the full clip, because you're not going to see the full clip on news, on like big news media outlets. Basically, what happened, for those who aren't familiar with it, is that there is the statue of a general that's been there for probably, I don't know, 100 years. It's just a general. So the Black Lives Matter people, all these people trying to make things about race, that's another psyop. I'll get into that later. But anyway, so there's this group of people trying to start trouble, saying we're going to take this statue down because the guy was a racist. You know, a guy who's been dead for 100 years probably. But he was a racist, so they want to take the statue down. So they wanted to go there and protest. We want to remove the statue. So there's a group of counter protesters that were against taking down the statue because it's a piece of history. It has nothing to do with race. It's like they're basically saying, leave history alone.
Right.
You know, like it's part of history. Don't take it down, because there's lots of people in history that own slaves. So that's what it was about. These people wanted to go take the statue down. Another group was like, okay, leave it's a part of history. So then a group of neo-Nazis, these racist people, showed up. Now, personally, I think that was by design anyway. I think those people were working for the same people Black Lives Matter work for, honestly. Like, it's all connected. So I think it was a setup like January 6th. They then sent these racist people there to cause problems. I don't think they showed up on their own, but whether they showed up on their own or not, the point is there was two groups. One protesting, take the statue down. The other group saying it's a part of history, just leave the statue up.
Right.
So then when these other people came, fights broke out, and then somebody got ran over, hit with a car. So when Trump makes his original statement on it, what he's basically saying, there's two sides to every story. So he's basically saying that, like, the people who wanted the statue taken down and the people who said leave it up, both of them were guilty. They both got into these fights. But he clearly condemns, he clearly says, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis
right
and white supremacists. Those people should be condemned. So he clearly says that. So when he says there was good people on both sides or fine people on both sides, he's saying that these are just two groups that had different views. One said take the statue down because the guy was a racist. Other group says it's a part of history, don't touch history. He was saying in those groups there are good people in both of those groups. So that's just a backstory for those who aren't familiar with it. But this is the original clip, and notice what he actually says about neo-Nazis and white supremacists.
Alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
On both sides, sir? You said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me. They didn't put themselves down as neo, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group. Excuse me. I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. Well, no, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now, are we going to take down his statue? So you know what? It's fine. you're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
Treated unfairly, sir. I'm sorry. I just didn't understand what you were saying. You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly. I just didn't understand what you were saying.
There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day, it looked like they had some rough, bad people. Neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. But you had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest and very legally protest because, you know, I don't know if you know, they had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. So I only tell you this. There are two sides to a story. I thought what took place was a horrible moment for our country, a horrible moment. But there are two sides to the country. Does anybody have a final? Does anybody have? You have an infrastructure.
What makes you think you can get an infrastructure bill? You didn't get health care.
Well, you know, I'll tell you. We came very.
Okay, so
Washington now loses.
I just want to play that part again, just so it's very clear what he says about the white supremacists. Listen very clearly how he says it.
Status? Are we going to take down? Excuse me. Are we going to take down? Are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now, are we going to take down his statue? So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
So it was very clear who he was talking about, right? But now notice what the press did. So here's a headline: Trump defends white nationalist protesters. It was clear he condemned them. He said, "I'm not talking about the white nationalists and the neo-Nazis." So here's another one. Trump says two sides share blame for Charlottesville violence. Then it says President Trump told reporters the counter protesters demonstrating against the nationalists, but they weren't nationalists. So this is trying to say they came there to protest against the white nationalists. He made it very clear he was not talking about that, but this is what they do. So they took this story, they deliberately cut out the part where he clearly said, I'm not talking about those people. They should be condemned. He clearly said white supremacists and neo-Nazis should be condemned. So this is not a mistake. This is basically, it's slander and it's criminal. They basically, they deliberately took out what he said on purpose and caused all these riots and all this Black Lives Matter stuff. They know he didn't say that. They took it out on purpose and then tried to say that. And here's more fake news. So this article says that neo-Nazis and white supremacists are celebrating Trump's remarks. How could they be celebrating his remarks when he did condemn them? So this is what you call fake news. This is when the other party decides we're going to create a fake story and pretend that all the white nationalists, they're all supporting Trump because of his comment. A complete bogus. And this is what started a lot of those Black Lives riots and all that stuff that was going on. But then they say Trump's dividing the country. He's not dividing the country. The media is dividing the country.
Right. Let's pause right here because that's a very important comment. And just like he was talking about Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, founding fathers, that is a part of our history. And that's not something that we can sweep under the rug. And that's the statue. I think it was Robert E. Lee. That's the statue that they wanted to take down. He was a prominent figure in the South. That is history. So if they want to have the statue there, especially in southern states, I understand it. I will not be one telling people, yes, we should take this down. Because exactly what he's saying, they want to change history. Why? Leave it there. Because if you do want to educate, right, they are critical race theory or whatever, you want to educate children on the history of America, that's one of the first things that you have to teach them is about the Confederacy. And that's exactly what I do in homeschooling. So if I'm doing it, public schools can do it too. Just tell the truth. You don't have to come up with a theory. You just literally have to tell the truth about American history. So if they keep these statues, that's a great field trip to go and see, hey, look at this guy. He was a prominent figure in the Confederacy. Or look at the North states. This was a prominent, George Washington was a prominent figure in this war. And so that's how you educate people. But if you scrape everything off and you have no remnants of the past, how are you going to teach future generations about what really happened between the North and the South? So I just want to comment about what Trump said, that I agree with what he said. And I agree, like how you played it twice. He said he was not talking about this certain group. And you know what? That is fake news, because real white nationalists, they don't like Trump because he doesn't represent them. They don't feel represented by the government we see today. What they want is literal radical change because they are white nationalists. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not for America. They're for themselves. So that's why they're never going to win in the game, because they're not for the entire America. Point. It's not just white nationalists. You have black nationalists too, black supremacy as well. Like, there's lots of different groups that have radical views that create this idea that there is racial division in this country. I don't agree with that. I do not believe that we have racial tensions in this country. Those are minority groups who believe that they are being oppressed, and they are projecting that oppression, that they think they are being oppressed, to the rest of the world. And the media amplifies their views instead of telling the actual truth. Because when you step out your door, you don't discriminate black people or white people based on the color of their skin. We're not in the 1950s and 60s anymore. Like, stop that. That's fake news. But they amplify it. One more thing before I let you move on. 007 commented this: Trump is a master of bait and switch. Black Americans aren't buying it. Their lived experience tells them what's really in white people's hearts. And so that's exactly what we're trying to point out, that is the false narrative, 007. So in real time, I am taking your comment and replying to it right now, because in my opinion, it is racist to say something like this. What's really in white people's hearts? Why? Once again, you are talking just like the media. White people, majority of white people, especially in the South, they don't feel this way. They are very integrated with all cultures and different kinds of people. And I'm in Florida, one of the reddest states and you could say in the country, right? So I don't think it's fair to say what's really in white people's hearts. That's not correct. So I just want to bring that out in real time, because that's exactly what we're talking about. That's the narrative. What's the truth? You know what I'm saying? Talk to real people outside. Touch some grass, because white people do not feel this way. They are very much against it, but they are also proactive in keeping their history alive, because they do have ancestors that were Confederates. They do fly Confederate flags in Florida. I don't get offended by that anymore, because I educated myself on what that means and what that means for white people. It's the same thing when black people, they fly their own flags, or they celebrate Juneteenth, or they celebrate whatever they want to celebrate, right? Because that's black culture. So I wouldn't be offended if black people did it too. Hispanic people do it too. Every culture is going to do it. Why is it offensive when only white people do it? You see, that's what I have a problem with. It's like, why are you amplifying the white versus black? That's the division in this country. Like you said, the media is the one that's dividing this country. Not one man, not one person, not one political group. It's the media to make you believe that you're supposed to hate this person because this is how they really feel about you. Because deep down inside, white people really hate you. Absolutely not. That's wrong.
And just to touch on what you said too, that there's a reason that I started off my presentation with the TV show, because it's only common sense. If the man wasn't a racist until he ran for president, I mean, it is what it is. If people are, I mean, that's all. I mean, if people don't have that common sense, it is what it is. But I mean, the man's he's almost 80 years old. You're saying he didn't become a racist till he was 65. Clearly, the man was not a racist. And as I mentioned earlier too, that black people, they know racism. So there's no way this guy was a Trump and all these black people just always admired him and talked and they invite him on their TV shows and things like that. But you know who was racist or who black people think was racist was Bush. I don't know if you remember during Hurricane Katrina, where there was it was a black neighborhood. I don't know, was it Louisiana or something? But in a black neighborhood, there are black people on the roofs of their houses, and the federal government didn't do anything. Bush didn't do anything until people started calling him out on being a racist. Like, hey, why is it in these other areas when disasters have happened, you're right there, but then in this black community, they're just left on the tops of their houses. So like that's an example of black people. No, they knew there was some racial stuff going on there. But you look at Trump's history before he ran for president, it's a fact. The man was not a racist, period. So, I mean, I don't know, but.
Right. Okay, so let's continue on your little slideshow. I'm loving this, Quinn. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm glad you're not annoyed that I have so much information.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen a real clip, and look, this is going to make you sick, right? You might get nauseous and have to get up or something, go to the bathroom, but make you sick. Just and when these people are talking to, like, look at the way they talk, the tone of their voice. You can sense these are some just evil, narcissistic people. Like but see how they completely twist that story about Trump.
Trump's once again defending comments he made about the white supremacists and neo-Nazis who gathered in Charlottesville 2 years ago to protest the removal of that statue of Robert E. Lee. The president says his original statement about very fine people on both sides was answered perfectly. Let's watch.
Oh, I've answered that question, and if you look at what I said, you will see that that question was answered perfectly. And I was talking about people that went because they felt very strongly about the monument to Robert E. Lee, a great general, whether you like it or not. He was one of the great generals. I've spoken to many generals here, right at the White House, and many people thought of the generals. They think that he was maybe their favorite general. People were there protesting the taking down of the monument of Robert E. Lee. Everybody knows that.
Well, the people protesting the removal of that statue were chanting "White Lives Matter" and "Jews will not replace us." By the way, I don't think whatever you think.
And by the way, I just want to say real quick, if you look at this photo, this is also what you call crisis actors at staged events. So this isn't even real. This is the media creating this fake stuff, because if you look at these people's faces, do they look like real nationalists? You can tell they're acting. So the media inserts this fake video and trying to pretend this is what the protest was. So just to clarify, for those that have that sense that you can tell this is fake.
Of Robert E. Lee, and I get certain mixed views about the guy at best. I don't think he was marching under the swastika. For more, I'm joined by Eugene Robinson, columnist of the Washington Post, and Brett Stevens, columnist for the New York Times. First, Gene, then Brett, was Biden smart, not just on moral grounds, but on political, strategic grounds, to open his salvo with, you got to get rid of this guy?
Yeah, I think it was.
Go ahead, Brett.
It was ingenious on his part. I'm speaking politically because I think Biden's brand comes down to one word, which is decency. And leaving aside complaints about the president's economic policy, his environmental policy, domestic or foreign policy, what I think most people, especially in middle America, really dislike about this president is the sense that at a basic level, he is an indecent human being. And the comments that he made at Charlottesville bring that home, I think, more powerfully and more pointedly than anything else he has said in his presidency. So that is exactly the right point of attack for Biden. We might have a strong economy in a year's time. It might be the case that America is still more or less at peace in the world. But what really disquiets, I think, a lot of wavering Americans who would like, who are not, haven't yet made up their minds about who they're going to vote for, is that you have a president who shames them, who embarrasses them, who embarrasses us, who embarrasses me. And so that's why choosing Charlottesville was morally the right thing to do and politically smart as well.
You trust that guy? Does he look like a trustworthy guy, or does he look like he's reading a teleprompter?
Yeah, they all are. I believe they all are.
But so do you see? And then even look at that headline and verifying people at the bottom of the screen, and then their stage photos. So they completely lied. They purposely took out the part where Trump condemned the neo-Nazis, and they caused all this racial stuff, all these riots and stuff that were happening. So the media has been dividing this country, and they're doing it because it's their plan of attack against Trump. Again, when emotions are high, intelligence is low. So people are all caught up in, oh, Trump's a racist. They're not really thinking about what this other administration is doing. But the thing is too is it's all lies. So this next clip is a new video that came out, I think, like just a month or so ago, where a news media outlet actually told the truth and they clarified this statement. But it's just a couple of months ago they did this. So notice how they explain the same thing that we've just talked about.
George Washington.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was just I was just going to play that again to emphasize the point of what he said, but we already know what he said.
Right. We covered that.
Yes. Okay. So this is the story that came out not too long ago.
Debunking Democrats' claims that then President Trump in 2017 called neo-Nazis and white nationalists, quote, very fine people. This was after a deadly protest in Charlottesville, Virginia, over the removal of a Confederate statue. Snopes now labeling that claim false, writing, quote, in a news conference after the rally, Trump did say there were very fine people on both sides, referring to the protesters and the counter-protesters. He said in the same statement he wasn't talking about neo-Nazis and white nationalists, who he said should be condemned totally. Let's bring in News Nation media contributor Steve Krakauer. Steve, great to see you. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Why is Scopes finally correcting this record 7 years later?
It's a great question. It was very curious to me when I saw it over the weekend, and it got to me. There's a few things at play here. First of all, technically, I guess when I really tried to dig in and say, why is this being done right now? There was a viral X post by someone named Sean McGuire, who's a partner at Sequoia, a San Francisco-based Silicon Valley venture capital firm, who recently announced about 3 weeks ago that he was going to be donating to President Trump, supporting President Trump, and laid it all out. And then last week, he shared this video and said, for the first time ever, I actually watched the context and realized I had it completely wrong. And people started saying, well, no, you didn't. Yes, you did. And so that kind of is the context here. But I think it's really interesting because, as you mentioned, this has become a massive talking point. It's become a massive talking point within the media more broadly, but also certainly among the Democratic establishment.
I just want to say, like, these are staged photos. The media does this a lot. This is not the real riots. If you look at these poses and the camera angles, like it's fake. Just want to put that out there as a side point. But the media they'll add their own footage to amplify the message. Not that these things haven't happened, but a lot of times they will stage their own photos to use to just give more weight to the narrative they're trying to push.
Joe Biden himself, who I would imagine, if we had to just place bets on it, will make this mention of President Trump said that that neo-Nazis and white supremacists were very fine people during the Thursday debate. I would bet that happens. But now we know. I have to say, I watched the context years ago, 7 years ago, so I knew that this was about protesters and counter-protesters as it related to statues of Robert E. Lee or statues of George Washington. That was the conversation that was happening then. But that is very interesting because now he has a very reputable fact-checking site that says it's false. That is a false claim, a lie, if he then goes and says that during the debate.
This is concerning to me because you're right. It's a massive talking point from a reputable media outlet. President Biden even said that Mr. Trump's comments back then about Charlottesville was the reason he decided to run. Now, in retrospect, how does that look like?
I think it looks terrible, but I think that this is part of a pattern. There are so many of these little moments, and I have to say, just to be fair, this happens on both sides, right? The left and the right. There's these little snippets, and then they become sort of the conventional wisdom. It reminded me a little bit of this idea that President Biden has said multiple times also about President Trump, that he told you to drink bleach or to inject bleach, or you go look back at the context. The word bleach was never even mentioned at all. A lot more. I mean, we can go about that could be the next segment we do. But these little snippets become talking points, and they become the norm and it's really unfortunate. Most people are not like you and I, and not like President Biden. They're not news junkies. They're not consuming the news on a regular basis. So maybe they catch little moments and they believe that is true because that's what they find in these little snippets, whether it's a campaign ad or whether they see it on some other less reputable media news source than this one. And so I think that it is an important moment right now to step back and say, if you believe that this was true, if you believe that this is what he actually said, well, now you know it's not. And let's just think about, maybe we should look at the nuance, look into a little bit more context on a lot of the things that we just accept as true when it comes to things that are really politically charged.
I couldn't agree more with that statement, Steve Krakauer. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find.
So I don't know if you wanted to touch on that before I go into my next part.
Well, yeah, I mean, really quickly, that's exactly what we've been talking about. Something that he didn't say outright, and they are reporting on it. Like she said, very reputable news are saying that he actually did say this. That's what I said earlier. So such dishonesty to cloud the judgment of the masses, because they're going to believe what the news says. They're not going to go and do the research. Like we always talk about this. It's like, if it wasn't for us XJWs actually doing the research, we would probably all be witnesses right now. But it was because something came up and we were strong enough to say, let me look at the context of what this person is saying, or this point that they're trying to make, and put everything else behind and say, what did he actually say? And so that's what we're doing. Like the last 4 years, that's what I've been doing. That's why I wanted to start this show, because I'm like, I want to show that, yeah, we moved on from that cult mentality. We're looking stuff up. We're talking to different people of different backgrounds, and like the comment section as well. We can all agree to disagree, but let's state facts. Let's look at things, objectively. Like, this is what Trump said. This is what he didn't say. Same thing. And it's not just Trump. It's everybody. I don't care who it is. And it doesn't have to be political. It's just across all different subjects. You should be looking at the deeper context and then form your own opinion. Do not adopt the opinion of me, of Quinn, of anybody on TV. Look it up yourself and get your own opinion. But don't come up here and being a keyboard warrior saying, oh, this is this. Oh, he said that. Oh, he said this. And he's a racist, like you were saying before. All of these buzzwords to make people feel as if this is what's really going on, when it's not. And if that is your opinion, great, congratulations. If you want to think that way, think that way. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yes, white people really hate black people, and Trump is super racist, and he was supportive of both sides, and he said to drink bleach. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit here and do that. Like, no. And I would never change that position or opinion just because the majority of people are saying that Trump is bad, that he's mean, that he's this, that he's that. I'm not afraid to be the only one to be like, well, I don't believe in that. This is my opinion. And so what? You know what I'm saying? So like this is the purpose of that. It's not to be afraid anymore to say how you really feel.
Well, it's like waking up out of JWs. It's the same thing, because when you start to wake up that they're all going to turn against you. Like, how dare you question a governing body? But it's that same mentality of, you can't be afraid. What do we get to stay in a religion because we're afraid what other people think? We're afraid of, a lot of us lost everything when we left JWs, but it didn't keep us in. And just another thing I want to touch on too, go along with what you said, is like that person that made that comment about, he said something about Trump is bait and switch, or he does bait and switch.
Right.
Show us an example. I'd love to see it so I can break it down. Like, that's the thing. I'm all about facts. I'm about facts.
Exactly.
And that's why I said it. Even if Trump was a Ku Klux Klan member, I'm all about facts. What is he doing as a president? That's all that they care about. So when someone says, oh, well, Trump is bait and switch, well, on a channel like yours, show us the evidence, right? Because we're not these brainwashed people anymore where you just tell us what to believe and oh, he said that. Show me bait and switch. And if you show me a video that evidence that he's bait and switching black people, I'd love to analyze it and watch it. And if it's true, it's true. But don't just say that and come with no facts.
Exactly. So 007, this is an open invitation. If you want to come on my show on a Tuesday night, I am more than happy to entertain your opinions. This is what I want. It's supposed to be a discussion. It's supposed to bring up facts. If you have a video, a clip, like Quinn is showing us literal news reporting, even if it is fake news, it's still real because they posted this. Millions of people have already watched it. It could literally sway your decision of who you're going to vote for. So that's why this is important. And that's why I don't trust the mainstream news and news networks. I form all of my opinions on my own now. And that's why I'm doing this now, because I feel confident enough that I moved away from mainstream. And it's like, let's do this together. Regular people talking with each other, especially XJWs. Like, I'm investing the time and the energy to do this for this community because I know this community. You know what I mean? Like, I used to be that way too. And I have moved. I have grown. Like, you need to evolve. If you continue stuck in this one narrative, this one thought, this one opinion, you're not growing, you're not doing your research, then you're just going to be stuck forever. Like, no, you should be able to change your opinions. I was once pro-choice too. I was once left-leaning too. But then you grow. And it is this. Literally everything that you're showing me, we've seen it in real time. We were alive watching the TV during that time. And that's what kind of woke us up. So if you're willing, if anybody's willing to come and share their opinions, of course, I'm so for it. You know what I mean? Like, let's open up the discussion. Okay, so we can continue with your slideshow.
Okay, so this is just one I want to say, and it touches what you just went into about the JW community, is that as Jehovah's Witnesses, our critical thinking skills have been taken away from us. They've been damaged. And one way they've done this is with the Watchtower study. Like, what happens during a Watchtower study if you think about going outside of the paragraph and saying something that's a little bit of your own thought? Either three things are going to happen. One, the Watchtower conductor is going to embarrass you, and he's going to wait until somebody else answers it correctly. Two, they're going to talk to you after the meeting and say, oh, you went beyond the paragraph. Or three, the Watchtower conductor is just not going to call on you because you have a tendency of thinking outside the box. But that programming, it's an actual program. So what that does over time is you don't have any critical thinking skills because you were always taught as soon as you start to use them, you're slapped back into, nope, this is how you have to believe. So when we leave this organization, if we don't realize that our critical thinking skills have been damaged, we can fall into the same trap like the media. Oh, well, the media said that. Well, they played a clip of Trump saying that, so that's what it is. So I just wanted to show how the governing body uses the same tactic that the media is using. It's the same brainwashing. We had to have learned something from being brainwashed by Jehovah's Witnesses. So this is an example of them taking a clip from the Bible. Who really is the faithful and discreet slave whom his master appointed over his domestics to give them food at the proper time? So that one clip, we were brainwashed. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. So them taking that one clip from the Bible, right? And we've seen the scripture quoted, right? So it's we believed it because they quoted it, right? Faithful and discreet slave. And out of that one clip, we were brainwashed to believe, and this is an article that they wrote on the right, that direction that we receive from Jehovah's organization may not appear practical from a human standpoint. All of us must be ready to obey any instructions we may receive, whether these appear sound from a strategic or human standpoint or not. So based on that one scripture and them taking the clip and then saying that this scripture means that the God of the universe put these men in charge of our lives and they can say anything, even if it doesn't even make sense, and we just better be obedient. And if we question these men, we're going to get kicked off. We're going to get separated from our friends and family and get kicked out of our network. because we question these men and we believe this crap because we had no critical thinking skills. All they got to do is quote the scripture of the faithful and discreet slave, and we buy into this. I mean, I'm embarrassed to even say that I believe this, that these men, and then Jeffrey Jackson on the Royal Commission admits although we don't really believe that in so many words.
Right.
But so I want to say, as ex Jehovah's Witnesses, we had to have learned something from being brainwashed by this religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's important to understand that there's a saying that says, like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me.
Right.
So fool me once, yeah, it was messed up. Jehovah's Witness destroyed our lives. They brainwashed us. They destroyed our families. Oh, that was all messed up. Yeah, shame on them. But if we leave the religion and we just go right back to, well, CNN said this. Oh, Trump's racist because, look, they said it. It said it, that we didn't learn anything. In fact, we might as well go back to the JW religion. We're better off going back to the religion and not vote for a administration that wants to destroy our country. Right? Maybe we're better off going back to JWs and not voting.
Yeah.
But I just want to put that out there. We can't fall for the same stuff. Like,
Right.
we already know that, you can't just listen to a clip and somebody narrate it for us and tell us this is what happened. So the same thing with the media. And I don't care what they say Trump said. We have to go back and look at the whole context before we form an opinion on it. Okay, so this is what I want to really now pay attention to, what you're voting for. If you're like, oh, you hate Trump, I'll never vote for Trump, all this stuff. So this is on the White House website, right? Official document, you can look it up. And this is just a reminder of what Biden tried to do as soon as he got in office. So this is the document, and it got blocked, but basically they wanted any company that has more than 100 employees, you're going to be forced vaccination and forced boosters every 6 months. So even though that this got blocked by Congress, and part of the reason why it got blocked is because the so-called conspiracy theorists were doing a good job putting out information about blood clots and all this other stuff. So that's why it ended up getting blocked. But I want to make this clear that you already seen what they've tried to do to us. So if they had their way, we would all be vaccinated and boosted. So remember that, because, and I think Jimmy said on your show last week something about, I think he said they'll try it again, or there'll be another pandemic or something like that.
Yeah.
He alluded to the fact. So you already know, like, if you vote this way because you think Trump doesn't like women or whatever it is, this is what you're voting for. You're voting for an administration that you already know, if they create something else, they're going to try it again, make you get vaccinated. And you were from New York City, so you know the Vax Pass is real, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, I want to put this out there to the XJW audience. How many red states do you know did a Vax Pass where you can't enter to a building without a sheet saying you were vaccinated?
No.
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 And one thing Trump said when this whole pandemic thing started is he made it clear no one should be forced to take it, because Trump is about people's rights. Right. So we already know, like, basically, so just know what you're voting for. You think Trump's a racist, go ahead, but do you want to get vaccinated? Do you hate Trump so much that you want to be forced vaccinations? So this can be looked up for those who aren't familiar. Go to the White House .gov and you can check it out. So here's another thing that happened recently. Biden says the U.S. is rushing weaponry to Ukraine, and he signs over a $90 billion war aid measure into law. $90 billion. So for those that are focused on, oh, Trump said this, did you see what Trump tweeted? Well, what do you think's happening to this country when we're sending $95 billion to another country?
Yeah.
So, and then people wonder why the economy is like where it's at now, why things seem to be on shaky ground. But if they keep your intelligence high, your emotions will be, if they keep your emotions high, your intelligence will be low. So people don't even question this. They don't care that we're sending $95 billion to Ukraine because Trump said there's good people on both sides, right? You see the media is probably just, they're laughing at how stupid people are that they can do this, right? And this is not conspiracy. It's public. This is the kind of money that we're sending to other countries. And it isn't just Ukraine. So here's another story. Biden handed over $16 billion to Iran, right? So he just giving out billions like candy, like, you know, like just giving candy to children. Here's some candy. Oh, like,
Yep.
here's $16 billion. Oh, here's 95 billion, right?
Yep.
But we're focused on what Trump tweeted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then there's other stuff. So here's another one. Biden says Putin is not a decent man. Now, I wanted to bring this up because Trump had a good relationship with Putin, and people attacked him for that. Oh, he's friends with. I'd rather him be friends with Russia than go to war with Russia, right? So
Right.
yeah.
Like what do you really want here? Like that's what you're voting for. You're voting for a political party who would go to war, or do you want to vote for a political party or the next president who is anti-war? Like put everything else aside. Do you want to go to war or not? Like that's literally where we're at this point, because I like really believe that if Trump doesn't become president, we are going to go to war. Like literal war.
Yeah, and the thing is that so Trump, like, if anything happened like with Ukraine, like Trump would have talked it out. But the bottom line is Trump's not going to go to nuclear war over Ukraine. And I feel sorry for anyone in Ukraine and all that stuff, but I don't live in Ukraine. I live in the United States. So I'm not being selfish by saying, hey, I don't want to blow up our country because of Ukraine. And the thing is that Russians are very smart. So I'm saying they got some technology that we probably, you know, we don't want to go to war with Russia is all that I'm saying, or nuclear war over some other country. And the thing is, Trump would be more at peace. And another thing, and I won't get too much involved in politics, is that there's another saying that I want to share that's a very, very wise saying. So people heard of the saying that says something like, I'll tell you who you are by who your friends are. Well, there's a deeper saying that says, I'll tell you who you are by who attacks you, or I'll tell you who someone is by who attacks them or how they attack him. And that's what we see with Trump. So when you see somebody that gets attacked to the level that Trump gets attacked, that tells you who that person is. And you know what? They're probably the exact opposite of what they're telling you they are. And I don't want to get too much into it, but let me just say that do your own research on why Putin had a problem with Ukraine. See, we're told that, oh, he's just like he's the Joker from Batman. Like he just is crazy.
He
He just
just
wants to blow
invaded.
stuff up. Yeah.
Right.
No, there's a lot of political stuff going on that's corrupt. And the fact of the matter is we shouldn't get into any nuclear war with anybody over something going on over there. But again, if you're worried about Trump's tweets, you know, you think he doesn't like, you know, he hates women or whatever it is you want to buy into, would you rather go to war? Would you rather have these threats on like, oh, any minute Russia might send a missile? Do you want that because you don't like Trump?
Yeah.
So this is a video from the World Economic Forum. Now, there's been other XJW channels that for some reason they have some sort of motive of trying to convince you that there's no conspiracies and it's all crap and, you know, there's no New World Order conspiracies and all that stuff. And I want to just make this clear that the whole New World Order, it's a fact. So if you go to the WEF website, they have it laid out. They call it the Great Reset. It's the same thing. Great Reset, Build Back Better, New World Order. It's all the same thing. So you can go, and this is from the WEF YouTube page. So you can find it in their own information. And I want to play this video just so that XJWs can understand that this New World Order stuff, it's a real agenda. And and they're on a time limit. So they want to bring in this New World Order stuff by 2030.
Yep.
So I want to just play this because it's important, again, that people understand what they're voting for.
The pandemic has radically changed the world as we know it. And the actions we take today as we work to recover will define our generation.
Now is the time to think what history would say about this crisis.
2020 has been challenging on a lot of levels, as economic, environmental, and societal frailties have been laid bare. But it's also proved that when we need to, we can act rapidly and restructure our lives.
Recovery from the pandemic is an opportunity. We can see rays of hope in the form of a vaccine, but there is no vaccine for the planet. Nature needs a bailout.
You don't want to go back to the status quo
that you had before simply because it was the status quo that got us here.
With everything falling apart, we can reshape the world in ways we couldn't before. Ways that better address so many of the challenges we face. And that's why so many are calling for a great reset. A great reset? That sounds more like buzzword bingo masking some nefarious plan for world domination. Hands up, this kind of slogan hasn't gone down well. But all we really want to say is that we all have an opportunity to build a better world. And it's not surprising that people who've been disenfranchised by a broken system and pushed even further by the pandemic will suspect global leaders of conspiracy. But the world's not that simple. Every one of us has differing priorities, values, and ideas. That's part of why solutions are so hard to come by, and why we all need to be involved in the decision-making. Because whether it's politicians, CEOs...
I just want to stop for a second. Does that guy look familiar that's shaking the hand of the WEF president?
Joe Biden.
Academics, activists, or you. We're all about getting people together, even those you may not like, to sit down at the table and develop solutions that work for all of us. But
we need enormous trust between the private sector and the public sector for this to actually work. That trust is hard to come by.
it's time for people to work together, listen to each other, and build this trust so we can move towards a better world. And we really need one. Because while the pandemic affects us all, it's clear it affects some more than others.
The first people who are hit are the people at the front, those who are vulnerable. It is those on the front line who take it first, and that is simply unacceptable.
See, at the start of 2020, 1% of the world's population owned 44% of the wealth. And since the start of the pandemic, billionaires have increased theirs by more than 25%, whilst 150 million people...
I just want to add one more thing. If you look at the graphics and the tone of the voice of the woman speaking, it sounds very JW-ish, like the JW.org videos. It's got that same style to it.
extreme poverty. And with climate change set to dwarf the damage caused by the pandemic, the message from 2020 should be abundantly clear.
Capitalism, as we know it, is dead. This obsession that we have had with maximizing profits for shareholders alone has led to incredible inequality and a planetary emergency.
But no one can do this alone, and top-down approaches won't get us anywhere, because everything we've learned in our work has shown us that diverse voices lead to better results. And it's for these reasons that the forum talks about something called stakeholder capitalism, which would shift businesses away from just profit. Because
if we want to change where the focus of our recovery will go, then we need a new dashboard for the new economy. And that needs to encompass people, planet, prosperity, and institutions.
Giving people a real stake in the economy and putting well-being before growth. And that's all about getting the right people in the right place at the right time.
We must rebuild our relationship with nature for the survival of the peoples and our planet.
We have a window of time which is closing, and we need everybody who cares to get together and find solutions now.
It's the people who have great ideas and who share them with others. They're the ones who are shaping the future. So if you want to be a part of the change, then tune in, turn on, and get involved. Follow the Davos agenda, right here, online.
So this is one of the clips from the video. It mentions the window of time. So again, this is not conspiracy. These people are working on the time, and the time is closing. So all that forced vaccination stuff, that was part of an agenda to partly depopulate and all that stuff, but things are running out. Like their plan isn't going as well as they want. And for some reason, there's a certain window of opportunity that they're working with. So it's not a conspiracy that they have a time limit that they want to bring about all the stuff that they want to do. And understanding what they want to do is why the country is falling apart. So if you look at this picture from the video, they're showing Biden shake hands with the WEF president. So just to make it clear, like, you think Trump's a racist, okay, whatever, but you're voting for an administration that's making a deal with these people, that's on board with these agendas. So this is the reason why he's doing things like sending $1 billion to Ukraine or 95, because they're trying to, in order to bring about this great reset, they need to destroy this country. This is where it gets deeper. Now some people are thinking like the whole depopulation thing, like, well, that sounds like it's just a bunch of nonsense. What it has to do with is the fact of what they want to implement. They know that the majority of people are not going to go for it. They can't these small elite people cannot overpower 8 billion people. So in order for them to create this control system, they need less people on the planet. So that's part of that. One reason why they want to take away the guns, why they're going after people's gun rights, is because when you have a tyrannical government, if people aren't armed, they can just implement this stuff and say you're dealing with it anyway. So there's a concerted effort of gun control. You know, I don't want to get too much deep into the conspiracy stuff, but every time that there's these mass shootings, the guy always has an AR-15. He's always dead on location, and they're pushing gun control right after that. These are orchestrated events with an agenda. So the idea is, if people don't want to give up their guns, then what they're trying to do is create people to think that they're bad. So if they create and stage all of this stuff and cause all of these things going on, they're trying to get people to give them up, because that's one thing holding this great reset is the fact of the resistance of American rights. Americans aren't going to go for some of the stuff they want to implement. So somebody like Trump comes along who's not on board with destroying America, because Trump loves America. Now, some people think, oh, he's a narcissist and all this stuff. I'm okay with a guy that loves the country that I'm living in. If I'm living in here, then hey, I want him to love the country. And just a side point, when people try to say, because they said he was a narcissist to another slander against Trump, if anyone's ever dealt with real narcissism, a real narcissist, if you ever dealt with that, would never say the things that Trump says on live television. Narcissists always say the right things, the perfect things. They wear a mask for a reason. Trump doesn't wear a mask. Trump doesn't have a filter, right? That's what gets him into trouble. So, just to make it clear, he's the exact opposite of a narcissist that's wearing a mask. But that's just on the side point. But if they can get people to just focus on Trump, he's a bad guy, all this stuff, they can push ahead with these type of plans, because people aren't even paying attention to what the Biden administration is doing. All they're paying attention to is Trump said this. Trump, we got to get Trump out of there. We hate Trump's a racist. So they don't even understand that we're going a step towards all this globalist stuff.
Right. Okay, a couple of thoughts with that video. The tone of voice, I totally agree with you. It's very JW cultish, soft, convincing, persuasive voice. So that was really hard for me to watch. And a thought about the picture with Biden. It does look edited. I don't know if it's like the way the video presented it, but I want to find the original photo to that whenever. Like, if anybody finds the original, I want to see that, because to me it looked a little choppy. So that's a little thing that I'm a little like my bell went off, like, is that a real picture? And so I would love to see that.
Yeah, I can answer that question for you, because if you want to go back to it, I can go back to it. And I can go over with the time a little bit too, if we go over. But can you go back to the video? Okay, so let me just go back, because so the picture is choppy, like you said, but it is the way that they demonstrated it. Let me try to go back to it in the video. Okay, so this is it in the video. Yeah, so basically, this is their official video on their official YouTube page. So that's how we know it's not edited. Like, they made it into a photo where it is like they just threw the people in there, but this is still from them. This is from the WEF. So it's not like somebody made that. The WF, this is what they're putting out. Now they could have done it without. Now it may not be real. Like, it might not be. He might not really be shaking his hand, but that's what they're letting you know. It's like they're putting out a subliminal message. They're basically showing you that he's making a deal with these people. But yeah, so he might not have actually shook the guy's hand, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because I see an open hand there, and then I just see like the arm looks super long, so it does look. It looks photoshopped, is what I'm saying.
It probably is, yeah, but from them though. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I want to look up. I want to see if that's a real photo. And that's a prime example of doing research. You see, if Quinn presented something to me and I saw something that I didn't agree with or whatever, I brought it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just letting everybody know that, because 007 had a really negative, I guess, comment saying that I was attacking him. And so I want to bring that up, that I'm not trying to attack anybody, but if you go, I will attack your comments if I don't agree with it. And that's just my opinion. These are all of our opinions. And so this is why I have an open invitation. If you want to come on and debate, or, show something that you want to show me, then show it to me. But you're not going to go in the comments and just say stuff and then get offended when I say something. You know what I'm saying? So this is an open discourse. And so, yeah. Another point with that video, when they said new world, one world, trust the process, right people, right time, right place, all of those things is the opposite. Like, when these people tell you that, okay, this is what we need to do to have the perfect, utopia or perfect system. Nothing in this world is perfect. So I would never fall into that, to be honest, in my opinion, because I'm like, so you don't, they essentially downgraded capitalism. They said that it was wrong, or that it doesn't work because like, it's failing us. And then they show all these protests. But like you said before, most of those things are paid actors. Most of those people are Antifa. It's like they are agents of chaos. So like, what do you mean? Like, those are not like real issues in the real world. Like, that's why I said, and earlier I said, go outside, talk to people, because real people don't actually feel this way. And so that whole world, one world, whatever, without capitalism, what kind of government do you think that would be? Is that communism?
No, and the thing is, a lot of times people that are more sort of Democrat don't understand the way certain things work, is that they think it's a good idea, like tax the hell out of the rich, right? All this, make them pay all this money. But what they don't understand is that rich people, they're going to live a life of luxury anyway. So all of that happens is that when you charge them more, that's when they say, I'm going to operate overseas because this Democratic government is taxed. So I'm going to operate out of China. So it doesn't actually work out. Like, people who build businesses, they need to be able to enjoy the money that they've earned. If they built a building from scratch, they shouldn't be penalized because they're wealthy to give it out. Like, when you do that, that's what it creates more problems from the bottom. But people don't understand. They just think, oh, tax them. But they don't understand that it's going to be worse from the people at the bottom, because the people who are rich, they're going to work around that anyway. These capitalists, so you don't want to attack them. And the thing is, Donald Trump understands that because he's a business person. So he understands the way these things work. So capitalism is not bad. It's just, it can be taken advantage of, but a lot of it is misunderstood how things work.
Right.
But one comment I want to say too, just with the 007 comment, is just that, and I'm not saying this to be rude, but you're very brave, Ruby, for taking on like a political, in this community. So I just want to put this out there, that you need a backbone for politics. It's not not pretty. So if you get on any sort of political channel, you're gonna have to have a backbone. I'm not saying to be rude, but I'm saying that you basically got to toughen up if you're gonna speak on something political, because it is like, it's a war zone in a sense. So that's all that I'm saying. Like, if you say
that's exactly why I brought it up, because I was the first one to bring up the first comment. So that's what I'm saying. If I reply to you, don't get offended. And I feel like I do have that backbone, but I'm never going to curse or be like mean in that way. But I do have a backbone, and I do stand up for what I believe in. So that's why when I outed the comment from the very beginning, I said, these are my opinions. That was super racist to say what white people really feel, because he generalized it. But then in later comments, he wants to make it seem different. No, you said what you said. So, and I said what I said. Sorry, not sorry. So I do agree with you that's exactly why I'm bringing this up, because I will debate anybody. If you want to come on my channel in my comment section, come on, bring it on. Like, I'm totally ready for it, because when you say things, you see, words matter. And that's what these people don't understand. What you said is what you said. And then I came back with the comeback. And now you want to make it seem like keyboard warrior. and then saying, oh, well, she's attacking me, you're bothering me, oh, I'm out of here, then go. Like, I don't care. You're the one who said the comment, so you can go as you please. Nobody's forcing you to be here or to watch this. And if you don't want to defend yourself, then have a good night, honestly.
Yeah, and that's kind of a JW mindset, because when you're a JW, that's how it is. Like, people will sometimes say rude things, like they'll make comments at the meetings, like, and it sounds like they're talking about somebody, and but then when you say something back, they're like, they get broken down, like, oh, you hurt my feelings. It's like a JW mindset. They're used to being kind of rude, but then when you offend them, they break down, like like they're so hurt you said this, and but when you get into JWs and get into politics, it is what it is. If you open them up and say anything, just be prepared for anything. Whether you're
totally
you just have to do that. But there's one more thing I want to show. There's one more video, because this one is more direct. This is also World Economic Forum official video, and this is showing you their new world order. This is what they have planned, and they want to do this by 2030. So just to be clear, you have the right to say Trump's a racist and you're not going to vote, but just understand what you're voting for. So this video is probably the worst thing I'm going to show. But I won't say anything. But after we play it, then I want to break down each one of these things that they want to do. And again, this is not conspiracy. You can find this on the WEF website.
That was crazy.
Okay, so here's the first one, right? So you will own nothing and be happy, but this is their solution to you own nothing and be happy. So that it tells you what they want to do. Whatever you want, you will rent.
Oh my
This
God.
is a violation of human rights. They literally want to create a system, and this also has to do with them wanting one world currency and social credit and all this stuff. They want to create a system where you own nothing. You don't own your house. You have to rent everything. And this system is going to be controlled also by like a social credit. So if they don't like you, they can say, no, you can't rent a car anymore because you're looking up this on the internet. Like, so just to be clear, like they want you to rent everything that's going to be owned by them. You will own nothing, but they're saying you're going to be happy. So just ask yourself, if you want to vote in this direction, this is what these people are trying to do. I'm not saying they'll be successful even if they get into office, but this is a real plan they have. They want you to own nothing.
Right. Well, actually, hold on. Just to argue that point, would you say that you technically own anything right now? Because if you don't pay taxes, like property taxes, the bank, they'll take your house. So do you really own anything? Like,
so that partly is a scam too that they already have going on, because you're right. They do control it. Like, well, they can still take it, but it's going to be much worse than that. So like basically, so I'm trying to think of a good example of this. Sometimes I have so much going on through my brain, I get like confused. But basically, or here's another example. So one thing they were doing during COVID, this was part of the agenda, is that they were telling landlords that you can't kick people out if they don't pay their rent. So one, it's a trap already because one, they gave out so much free money to people that weren't working, so there's no excuse to not pay your rent. You're getting paid more money than you did when you're working. So why give out all that money and then still say that, oh, what, they don't have to pay their rent? So it was a sabotage for the landlords to begin with. So that's crazy to say you can't kick anybody out, and a lot of people were taking advantage of that. So people in certain areas, what they were doing is they were just selling their houses to like BlackRock because they're like, hey, now they're in the hole because they got these tenants that are not paying rent. Now they owe money to the bank. So then BlackRock is coming up. Don't worry, we'll buy the house and get rid of them.
Yeah,
now,
their savior. Let me save you. Let me buy you out.
Yeah. So then in California, I think other states might have done this too. They were doing something where if you're a landlord and you have property that's vacant, if someone just moves into your property and breaks in and says they live there, you can't do nothing about it.
Yeah, squatters.
So, but who makes laws like that? Like that's called breaking and entering. Like back in the day, like you call the police if that happens.
Right.
But so they're doing these things on purpose because they're trying to get rid of the landlord. They want BlackRock to come in and buy up everything.
Right.
So what they eventually want to do is get to the point where they just own everything, companies like BlackRock. And in that sense, that's when you won't own nothing because they're going to own everything. They want to get rid of that. And then like when they want to get rid of gasoline engines. WEF wants to get rid of gasoline engines. So what they'll slightly do is they'll make these electric cars to the point where you can't afford to buy them right out and you're just going to rent them. So this is how they're going to try to do it. They're going to make it where they're pushing people out of these normal things, such as you used to buy your own house and they're going to make it where you have to rent everything. This has already started in subtle ways. So there's little ways that they try to get people into this mindset. So I have an iPhone, and on iPhone you have Apple Music. So this is the way they're slowly trying to get you into this mindset of you own nothing and be happy. So Apple Music seemed like a great idea. For $10 a month, you have access to millions of songs, right? Great idea. But the more that people get into those type of things, what happens if you don't pay your Apple account, your bill?
Yep.
Where's all your music library? Well, guess what? You don't own it anymore. Right? You don't own anything. And that's subtle ways they're trying to do, but they're doing more things like that where you're renting things, you're paying an account to have all this stuff. I'd rather at least have my own MP3 file. So like I have the music, whether I pay my bill or not, but they want to create a system slowly where you're just going to rent everything. Nothing is going to really be yours. So then you always have that threat of, say you have Apple Music and they decide to go up to $100 a month and you can't afford that. Well, now you have no music library, correct? Because your whole music library was Apple Music streaming. So, and I don't know exactly how they're going to do, but these are just the type of things that they're trying to do is create this system where basically you own nothing. And somebody like Trump will never go for that, right? So you can hate Trump all you want, but he's all about people's rights. But this gets more disturbing when you look into it. So this one, it says the U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower. So for those who don't live in America, like maybe this is a good idea, but if you're an XJW and this is where you live, doesn't that sound a little troubling? Like a plan to basically dethrone them. Like this is where we live. So, but they're telling you that's their plan. So when we were talking earlier about like, why are they doing all this stuff with like, letting the legal people come in and all this stuff, this is part of it. They're trying to purposely destroy the country so that they're no longer superpowered. So you keep spending money by the billions. Guess what? It's not going to take long for that to happen. So now going back to this picture, and I think you're right. I think this is the WEF photoshopping this.
Yes.
But the message that they're sending to us is that he's in bed with these people, right?
Yeah.
So,
actually, hold on. Yeah, this point about the U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower. Why is that? Let's dive in a little bit more. Is because America is the example, is the leader of what freedom really is. So when they say they don't want the U.S. leading anymore, they are also saying they want to take your freedom away. They want to take your
Exactly.
rights away. So you really have to read deeper into what they're actually saying, is because if the US goes down, if our constitution is ripped, if this country falls, there is nowhere else to go that will preserve your freedoms and fight for your freedoms, honestly, because we have the three branches of government. We have the judicial system. We have certain things in place, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, etc., that other countries do not, especially the Second Amendment, which is about the gun situation. In other countries, what have we been seeing in Venezuela, in England, and all these other countries that are literally do not have any guns? Australia cannot defend themselves. They were dragging people from their homes and giving them a shot that they didn't want to take. If they had guns, do you really think they would be dragging you out your house, putting you in a concentration camp because of the COVID situation? Who's to say that they're not going to do it again? So when they say this, they hate America because they hate freedom. They hate the freedom of choice, the freedom of speech, the freedom to bear arms. All of those freedoms, they hate that. It's not really about the US, about Americans. It's about our Constitution. They hate it because it was written so well to give us our freedoms, and they've gotten control of these other countries. That's why they are a blank hole country, you know? But America is not. And that's why they want to destroy this. And that's why we have to stand in the way of them and us and the government. Because if we were not here, they would go along with this because the government and the deep state in America still exists. So it's the people that is the middlemen. We are the middlemen, patriots, who vote against this. Any other democracy is the same thing. That's why they hate people voting. That's why they hate referendums. They hate this type of stuff because they don't want us. They want to get rid of us. Depopulation. The reset stuff that you were talking about, replacement theory. They want to get rid of patriots that love freedom so that they could go ahead and do whatever they want. So that's why when Miss T said earlier, well, what's the point of voting? It's to stop this from happening, because if we weren't here, if we didn't have guns, if we didn't vote, if we didn't have a say in anything, they would go ahead and do whatever they want. And what kind of a world is that? Absolutely not. So, okay, go ahead.
Well, so, and along with that same point, so basically, those that hate Trump so much, they're like, "Oh, I'm voting for," And I know Biden stepped down, but Harris is the same thing. It's the same people controlling Biden. They're going to control Kamala Harris. So basically, just keep this in mind that they're showing you, at least the WF, that this administration has got to deal with these people. So when they have a plan on bringing down the United States, and we see that they're giving all of our money away, we can see like this is what you're voting for. And again, maybe that sounds good to people not in the U.S., but if you're in the U.S., you're foolish if you're going to vote for an administration that is trying to accomplish this thing.
Right.
So, and this is another one. So we won't transplant organs; we'll print new ones instead. So. We already know about like Elon Musk and and all that stuff they want to do. Or let me go back to that one. Yeah, we already know that Neuralink and they want to do this, put all this AI stuff into us. So they're pretty much telling you that, according to these people that want to control us, that they're going to put technology in us. When we no more organ transplants. No, we're going to put a fake heart inside of you, and you're just gonna like it because. We're in control, right? They're telling you this is because they're not giving you an option. They're not saying, well, if you want, they're saying we won't transplant organs. It's not going to happen, but they're going to print.
Right. That's a statement. Right.
Yeah.
That's a statement. That's what they're going to do. And this falls in line with the transhumanism theory, I guess you could say. It's because that's what they're trying to do. That's why I don't really like Elon, because he did the whole chip and stuff like that. And in my opinion, that's like a technophile. It's transhumanism. It's taking away our humanity in some kind of ways. So that's another reason why I don't agree with this. This is insanity, like for real.
Yeah, and guess what? That fake heart is going to have a tracking device on it and Bluetooth and all this stuff on it. So you're going to get you're going to get a lot more than an organ with one of these fake hearts. But they're telling you exactly what they have planned. And this is pretty crazy. So you will eat less meat, but it gets worse than that. So you eat less meat, and they're telling you an occasional treat, not a staple for the good of the environment, and for our health. So basically, they're treating you like a pet dog. You know, here you have your goods. You have a treat, an occasional treat.
Yeah.
So these, because so there's certain people that think that you shouldn't eat any meat at all, right? And that's fine if they don't want to eat meat, but just to understand this, that if you go back to the beginning of life on this
Time.
planet, yeah,
Word, like the beginning of civilization, the beginning of
yeah,
time. Like who thinks like that? Don't
yeah,
eat meat. What have we been
mhm,
eating since Adam and Eve? And if you don't believe in Adam and Eve, then what do you think we've been eating since the ice ages or cavemen? Like what the
yeah,
heck? That don't make no damn sense. Like I'm sorry for ranting, but like I mean that's the whole point of
mhm,
like men,
mhm,
women. It was like the women they did the foraging and the men did
mhm,
the hunting. What did they hunt? Did
mhm,
they hunt plants? No, they hunted animals. That's meat. Like that's literally
mhm,
what we need to live on. What you talking about?
mhm.
Don't eat meat.
Yeah. And then like animals kill other animals. So it's
Yeah.
not about sympathy. Like, and there's animals that will kill you. If you end up coming across a grizzly bear, guess what? He's gonna kill you. So I mean, that's just what's been going on this planet. You don't have to participate. If you don't want to eat meat, you don't have to eat meat. But these people are telling you the occasional treat. And goes back to our rights being taken away. They're gonna decide when you can eat and what type of meat you think they're gonna give you. It's not gonna be
Fake meat.
organic grass-fed beef. No, it's gonna be
Right.
geoengineered, Bill Gates, some genetically modified food is what it's gonna
Antibiotic.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But just the way that they're talking, like this is what they want to do. It's they're taking away your rights. That's the problem with this. So they're going to tell you the occasional treat like a dog, and you're not going to get a treat if you're, questioning certain things. Just like when we were JWs, we kicked out if we questioned the governing body. Well, same thing under a system like this. What happens when you try to question the government? Guess what? You ain't getting your treat, right? Because you were on this website, so you don't get a treat this week. You got to wait till next week to get.
Wow.
But they're
Hell
telling you.
no. Mm-mm.
And then this one, the reason I'm showing this one about we'll have to do a better job at welcoming and integrating refugees. I'm bringing this out just to show you that the administration that we're currently in has already been doing this. They're
Yeah.
already working towards this New World Order stuff. So this is why that happened, because it's part of their plan.
Right.
To just let all these people come in. So so they're already working on all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the last one where it says Western values will be tested to the breaking point. So what they're basically saying is that they want to destroy our American way of life completely. You will own nothing and be happy. No more owning anything. They want to destroy. No
Mm-hmm.
more you're allowed to go out and hunt your food. Nope. Only the occasional treat. You can't hunt anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, the administration we're currently under, who's got to deal with these people, who's connected with them, how comfortable are you voting for an administration that's on board with this? Western values
Right.
will have been tested. They want to destroy our way of life. And another thing I
Right.
just thought was really sick is that, like, how did McDonald's get into this video? Right? Like, I mean, these people are crazy.
Yeah, the founders of fake meat right there. Like that's
Yeah.
why I don't even eat fast food
Yeah.
anymore. But you see this, like I said earlier, Western values will have been would have
Mhm.
been tested to the breaking point, just like they said about capitalism in America. What is Western values? What are you talking about when you say Western values? The West has more freedoms than the East, right?
Mhm.
Technically speaking. And those are majority what, like Christian nations, and then more East, and keep going East is like Middle East, and then you keep going around the rest of the world. They don't have freedom. So once again, Western values, what are they really talking about? And this is why I truly believe that they're attacking freedom.
Mhm.
They're not attacking us or them. They are attacking the principle of
Mhm.
freedom. How many millions of people died for freedom? How many patriots went to war and died for freedom? And then we're gonna have economic forum talking about Western values. What are you talking about? Like blood has already been shed for freedom. So if you're not defending it, then all of those people died for nothing. And that's why I'm passionate about these things, because I'm like, even my own family members, they are signed up for the military. I have lots of cousins who are in the military. They are serving, protecting, or either dying for Western values. So when you are talking about Western values like this, then what are you talking about? That all of our ancestors, all of our Americans, all of people who defended Western values died for nothing? Absolutely not. I disagree with that.
And I think too, the McDonald's could be subliminal when they said that the occasional treat. This is your occasional treat in the New World Order system. McDonald's, well, if you're a good servant, okay, you can go to McDonald's and get it and get a Big Mac, right? That's because apparently McDonald's is still part of their New World Order system. So I just want to make this clear that like this is why I said earlier that even if Trump was a racist, even if Trump had the Ku Klux Klan hoodie and everything and burnt cross on the weekends,
Yeah.
I'm still going to support the administration that is concerned with our freedoms and our American way of life. I don't care if you think I don't care if he is a racist.
Right.
It doesn't matter because what you're voting for is the policy. It doesn't matter what Trump does in his personal life or how he thinks. And you already seen what this other administration has already done. They already tried to force vaccinations. That's why I showed that document when they try to say anyone with 100 employees has to give. So you already know that the people that are behind that administration, whoever's controlling them, they're already ruining the country with all this billions of dollars, but you already know they're going to try to force vaccinations again. So
of course,
what it really comes down to is which way people vote that's basically what you're voting for.
Right.
Call Trump a racist all you want. Do you want to vote with intelligence? I mean, if you're not in the U.S., that's differently. But XJWs that are in the U.S., what do you want in the U.S.? Do you want a government that's going to tell you you can't eat meat, only the occasional treat, and you're not going to own anything? You're going to have to rent everything, and if you go to the hospital, no, they're going to give you an AI transhumanism heart to experiment on you. Like that's what you want.
Yeah, exactly. So this is why I'm glad we're bringing this up, because I never saw that clip, that video. This is my live reaction to it, and this is why I love doing live reactions because I'm like, I mean, I've heard these things, you know what I'm saying? Like through the grapevine, through the media, people talk about it and they talk positively about this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, that really sounds either anti-American, anti-Western, anti-capitalists. And honestly, I'm pro all of those things. So what you're saying is people like us, people like me, if this does go into effect in the real world, that means people like me will be persecuted, will be thrown into the gulag, will be thrown into concentration camps because of the views that I have. I won't be able to express myself freely and say how I really feel. And if this does come on, they're going to have a blacklist of all the people who they don't want. And they're going to have everybody on that list, political commentators, regular people like you and me, who they know are against their agenda. And when they are in power, they will hunt you down and they will put you away because you are against them. So, I mean, those are the elements of communism that I see, elements of socialism that I see here. And all you really have to do is look at history when those types of governments have been implemented in the past. And to be honest, I haven't really dived into that. I mean, I will in the future. But what I do know is that hundreds of millions of people died that way. Okay, they say we're gonna print and you won't have to wait for a donor. They say you're gonna eat less meat and that's actually a healthy thing. Like you're taking advice from other people and not doing it yourself, and then you're gonna trust your life and put it in their hands. And what's gonna end up happening? I'm sorry, but I don't think most of us would be surviving that.
Yeah, and there's one more thing I want to explain too before we close is that so there's something called order before chaos, and it's something that Freemasons use as one of their secrets, some of their secret wisdom. But order before chaos before order. I'm sorry, it's chaos before order. So chaos before order is a law of the universe. It's in everything. So, for example, like Yellowstone Park, I'm 6 hours away from Yellowstone Park, big, beautiful natural park. It was created by a super volcano, an explosive super volcano that's still underneath Yellowstone now. But it took that big explosion to create the beautiful structure that we see at Yellowstone Park. Now, hopefully that was on purpose by like God, and it's not going to happen again. But this thing with chaos before order, it's a law of the universe. Another example of that is if somebody wants to go to the gym and start working out in their body. Well, you're going to have that chaos, right? If you haven't been going to the gym, so your body's going to go through chaos before you have the results of muscles. So it's a law of the universe, but these elite people and secret societies, all this, they understand a very real powerful thing, which is chaos before order. So this is one of their hidden secrets on what they're trying to do with this new world order system. In order for them to bring out this new system that they want, they have to create chaos. And in this case, they have to destroy America. They got to destroy people's rights. They got to kill people, because the thing with the whole depopulation, I know that sounds really conspiracy for people who haven't really looked into it, but the whole idea is that video we just watched, 1 billion people aren't going to go for that. So they know that. So that's why depopulation is part of their agenda, because in order for them to be able to control people like that, there has to be less people. They can't overpower us with these numbers. So that's why they're trying to get it to a manageable population. So that's part of it. And then with that being said, a lot of these things that we see going on, they're the opposite of what they say. They're causing some of these mass shootings.
Exactly.
The chemtrails, here's the thing. People got called a conspiracy theory, talk about chemtrails. Now it's a fact. It's called geoengineering. You can look it up. They can't even hide it anymore. That's what's destroying the weather. That's what's causing some of these fires, right? It's not just, wildfires because of global warming. Global warming is used as a cover, and they're manipulating these things. So they're trying to get people out of these rural areas to push them into the cities, because that has to do with their agenda. They want everybody in the cities, smart cities, where they can control surveillance and all that stuff. They don't want you on your own. They don't want people to have the survivalist mentality where they can just be out in the woods by themselves and hunting their food. They want to push people out of those areas. That's the reason why you have these fires that are in these targeted areas. And I'm not going to get too far into how they're being started, but I'm just saying that the chaos, and again, the elite people that are behind this stuff, they understand this principle. So they are causing the chaos, because by causing this chaos and breaking it down, that's when they can bring in this new system. They can also sell you the new system by saying, did I freeze up or did you freeze up?
For a split second, yeah, the audio went out.
Okay. But yeah, so I don't want to go too on about that too long, but basically, I'm just saying that the people that are bringing in the solution are the ones starting it. So
yeah, that's why I said it's purposeful.
Yeah,
I don't believe in like inadequacy or failure or like coincidences. Like they pump it up in the media, and then that's what, like you said, the emotions are high. They show you another video of a white cop shooting a black person, and then it brings up every 4 years in election season, they're going to bring you another video and another video and another video, and then you're going to go out there again and protest again and again and again. So how many times are we going to go through this cycle and not wake up and say, okay, yeah, there are bad things that happen. Nobody said that everybody was perfect, but this is what they're showing you on TV, and they blast it for hours, and you're just watching it for hours, and you're like a zombie in front of the TV, and you start believing it. The more you watch it, you start believing it, and that's what gets your emotions hyped up. You got to protect your mental health sometimes, but that doesn't mean you can't say the truth, like what we're doing here now. Yeah, all of this is like devastating, but they're believe them when they talk to you. Like, this is what they're actually saying they want to do. So sometimes we do have to talk about it, but yeah. Okay, you can continue with your
no, that's it. That's the last one. And
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the thought that I want people to think about when it comes to like voting who they support. That, this is what you're voting for. So
right,
call them a racist, call them whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But do you want your rights or do you not want your rights? That's the bottom line.
Right.
And what the media has done, because again, as soon as this man ran for president, that's when he became a racist. And that's the plot. Anybody that tries to run up against these people, they're going to slander them and do the same. It's the same thing. That's why they attack them so much. It's that simple.
Right. And so you see the whole COVID situation. This is why I did the show with Jimmy about COVID. We deep dived into it and we touched on it here. It's because we did get a taste of it. And you can already, like, we felt the tension of that. Like, I literally had to come to make hard decisions because I was moving to New York. I was there. My family is there. But when I saw everything change literally overnight over a mandate that is not a law, and people were altering their lives for this, that's when I had to say, I wasted all my time, energy, and money but I'm gonna have to move back to Florida. Like, those are some hard decisions that you have to make because you think you can thrive and have a life and raise your children like how I thought I was going to. Because in my childhood, New York was beautiful. New York has been literally ruined, destroyed. My childhood hometown, like everything that my memories, everything. It's all disgusting and dirty and degenerates all over the place. In my opinion, it's destroyed. I can't even raise my kids in the city that I grew up in. So it's like you kind of get angry and sad about that because you know politics has a big deal, like a big hand in playing in this. And that is the violation of your rights. It is a violation of the Constitution. And either you stay and you fight and you do the lawsuit and you wait 3 years later, 4 years later, or you bite the bullet and you say, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna have to move. I'm gonna have to uproot my whole family and move. And it's so much harder with kids. And that's also what I see with this whole WEF stuff. They hate families. They hate kids. They don't want you reproducing. They want to actually depopulate, like you said before. They don't like Christianity. Look at what we saw in the Olympics. It's a total disgrace and disgust and anger. And that's what they're attacking. They're attacking Christian values. They're attacking family values, Western values, and freedom. Everything that we stand for. So that's why I have my background of the American flag. This is why I talk about American politics. Is because if nobody else is doing it, I'm going to have to do it. Like, literally. We have to show love for our country. I consider myself very Christian, very conservative. Sometimes I say like I am a Christian nationalist is because some of those views, my worldview, is those values, fundamental values of freedom, family, and country. And I put all of those things together, and that's my blueprint of who I'm going to vote for. Who is putting American values first, family values first. And honestly, Kamala doesn't even have any children. So how do you think she's going to govern anything? She's never had a child. She's never had to raise a child and was not put through the same things as a regular woman with children and values with a husband would go through.
But she's black though. That's all they want you to know. First black president, black female president. That's the game they play. That's why she's black, and that's why she's there, because that's what they're going to play. Oh, first black woman president, and they want you to think like morons. That's what it is. It's just like how governing body treated us. The governing body, they look down on us like absolute morons. They probably laugh at what JWs all the time, how stupid we were as JWs.
Exactly.
So these people, like, they laugh at us because they're going to get people to, or try to get people to vote for her just because, oh, first black woman, and not even care that your rights are going down the toilet. But again, they just will get your emotions up. They get you to focus on this garbage. Oh, Trump's a racist, all this. Oh, first black woman president. Well, right under your nose, in front of your face, they're giving all our money to other countries, and they're already destroying our country as it is.
Yeah.
But the only other thing I want to say just to the whole XJW audience is that we got to be smarter than this. We already went through this crap with JWs, being brainwashed by the governing body. We got to be smarter than to fall for these media clips that telling us, oh, this, and that. And again, even if he is a racist, it doesn't even matter because you're voting for a policy. It doesn't even matter.
Right. And she's not even black, honestly. She's not African American. So it's like, once again, the media, the narrative that you have to vote for somebody just because they are this way, or because they are a person of color, or because she's a woman. Like, just vote for her because she's a woman. No, we're not looking at the personalities. We are looking at the policies. What do they want for the future of America? When you look at the left, what do they want for the future of America? Does it represent American values? Does it represent your values? Because that also says a lot about yourself. Honestly, I'm going to be blunt and I'm going to say it. If you do vote, whichever way you vote, that tells everybody else and yourself how you are. Okay? So that's why sometimes I get into the political talk with people in real life, but sometimes I just keep it to myself because I'm like, at the end of the day, sure, go ahead and vote for who you want, but that tells me a lot about you. A lot. Because if you are pro-American, if you are a patriot, if you really do love your country, what kind of future do you want this country to look like for your children? I have 3 children. They're going to be adults really soon. And what kind of country do I want What kind of policies do I want for them to grow up in? We could barely make it as it is. Inflation is so bad, we could barely make it as it was. But when Trump was in office, we actually had extra money. We can go out to eat. We can do like late night drives because gas was cheap. So we can drive more. We can go out more. Like, it literally does impact your life. 4 years without Trump, we've been 4 years stuck at home because we can't do anything. We can't afford anything. So that's also another reason why we should take this seriously. Voting is important. So I'm going to do a separate episode just for voting because I think that's super important. But if for those of you who think, oh, well, we don't have a say, the electoral college, yada, yada, all of those things were put in place for a reason, and I get it. But you have to participate. If the left is so hardcore, you gotta vote, you gotta do this, don't care about what she says or how she acts just because she's a woman, or if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. If they feel that way, then why would you say that is not important? Like, whatever the left does and the left says, I take that and I flip it and I say, well, I'm going to have to go 10 times harder. I'm going to have to vote. I'm going to have to do my research. I'm going to have to share this with my friends and my family. Because if they're doing it, we have to do it. And that's how they lost back in the day. They were not going as hardcore as the left. The left was doing everything in their power. Even if it was cheating, the right didn't cheat and they lost. They were not fighting fire with fire. They were letting them do what they please. And that's how they got away with it. To rectify that and to trust our elections and voting things, that's why Trump talks about this, changing laws or changing things to make voting more safe. That's important because I'm like, bro, if you don't change anything, why am I going to vote? If we just saw the left steal the election in 2020. That's my opinion. All right? Like, don't shoot me in the comments. That's just my opinion. We saw so many irregularities in different states, and those people have already been arrested. That's another thing that's not a conspiracy. There were irregularities with the machines and all this crap that people want to talk about. Oh, it wasn't stolen. It was stolen. Whatever. It was taken. It was, and that's the whole thing of what happened in J6. And like you said, the emotions were so high because it's like we're so angry. We saw the steal. We were like, stop the steal, and nobody did anything about it. And Trump had to walk away. Okay, because then he would look like a dictator. He would look like an authoritarian if he would have made Pence redo the count, if he would have not left.
Yeah, one thing too about January 6th, just to throw a side point in there, is that the real reason behind that, because it was an operation, is it was done to get people to back off from questioning the election, because everybody known it was stolen. Everybody with a brain could see it was stolen. That's why they wanted to do mail-in votes. As soon as I heard mail-in votes, I knew, oh, they wanted to cheat. Like, as soon as I heard that. But they know that people were going to figure it out. So there was real people protesting January 6th, but then it was staged where they had people going there on purpose to cause all of that problem. So then they could say, oh, and you're trying to overthrow the government. So then they made it where you can't even question an election because you'll get tied to January 6th. You may get arrested. You may be called like a traitor or something. So it was done just so that people will back off of the election. Like, oh, cool it because, you know, you're going to be connected with January 6th. That's what it was. It was a way that they could back everybody away from don't dare question election, right? Because, you know, these people try to overthrow the government, all this stuff. So basically, if you question the mail-in votes, you automatically got tied to you were connected with those people trying to overthrow the government. So that's why it was done. That's why they staged that. So that people would just forget about the clear fraud and the mail-in votes. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they want to mail-in votes so they can cheat. And if Trump wanted mail-in votes, I would say, well, it's because he wants to cheat. Whoever wants to vote like that is because they want to cheat.
Right. Exactly. Like you said, they are putting these theater presentations so that they can bring in the new world order, like what they want. So they're letting all of this happen. They're letting it play out, and then they have a few little agents in the crowd, and then they just let it happen because they know that people are going to fall for the bait. That's the reason why, you know, Jimmy says all the time, don't let your emotions get riled up. Don't go out there and start protesting. Don't go out there and start destroying things because it's not going your way, because you can see with your own two eyes. You don't need anybody to tell you what's going on. And if you do, I'm sorry, buddy. Like nobody can help you if you don't see what's going on right now. Sorry, because your country is being taken away from you right under your nose. You know,
But
like
they don't. But people don't care because hey, Trump is a misogynist, right? Hey, Trump. So they don't really care because Trump said this, and
right.
that's what the media wants. And just one more thing I want to say is that I just want to make it clear. I wouldn't say I'm a Trump supporter. I'm just looking at the facts, right? So he's the better person for their job. So I'm not saying that I'm against him. I'm just saying that I'm not I'm a crazy Trump supporter. These are just the facts. And the facts are he is trying to actually make the country better, period. I'm not saying he doesn't say stupid things because he does sometimes say stupid things, but most of the serious things that people hate him for are lies. And that's why I showed the evidence of it. So it doesn't mean that you're a Trump supporter if you vote that way. It's effective. You're voting for the policy. And that's what people need to really understand. It has nothing to do with, it really doesn't have anything to do with the character of the person. It's what are they doing? What are their policies? And that's how people should vote for what is best for the country. If you think that New World Order stuff is best for the country, vote that way. You should, if you believe that. But just don't let your mind get clouded because they told you Trump was a racist. So you're not even understanding what this other side is actually doing.
Right. Okay. So just to wrap it up, Quinn, let us know. Are you registered to vote? Are you going to be voting? And what are your political leanings?
So you might get mad and throw me off your show.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I technically only been out of the JWs for a year. It was a year this past June 15th. So I've just never been registered to vote. And so in all honesty, like and you're right, I agree with everything you're saying. I'm just being honest. Like you're completely right. And I should listen to what you're saying. But I'm not registered to vote at this point, and I live in a state of Idaho. Idaho is so red. I mean, they have the #1 like gun rates for people to want guns in the nation. So this state's so red that, in all honesty, just for me right now, I don't even need to waste putting gas in my car to drive to go vote. I just because the state's so red. But I'm not saying that's a good idea. Like you're right. If everybody has that mentality, then it's going to mess the system up. So, but for me personally, I just am not registered because, again, being a JW, I haven't thought about it. And I'm not saying that I won't, because there's still time, but I'm not registered at this point, and my state's so red anyway. It really doesn't matter.
Okay, well,
I'm being a bad example. I want to say I'm being a bad example. Don't listen to me. Listen to Ruby. Don't listen.
Yeah, no, you can. I would suggest, and I would highly advise you to register online. You could definitely do that. Register to do it online. If you want to, if you believe in the mail-in ballots, you could definitely do that because that's what I do. I get mail-in ballots. I do my research on who's running. I call them. I go on social media and I talk to them. And I've never voted in person, but I'm going to try to do that this year. But yeah, you can definitely do that online. You don't have to waste gas or anything like that. And that's why Election Day should be a federal holiday, because everybody should be off of work to vote. That's another thing that I agree with, because exactly like you said, why am I going to bother? It's all red. I don't want to waste my time. But yeah, I would definitely suggest that you go and vote. And just really quickly, what are your political leanings? Now you're not neutral anymore. You've done all this research. Obviously, the slideshow was amazing. So I'm confident that you have a political leaning. Have you ever dived into like a political test, or like what do you consider yourself?
So I was in Connecticut. I just recently moved to Idaho, so Connecticut is very blue, and that's a situation where I probably would have definitely made sure I was registered to vote in that situation. I've only been to Idaho a couple of months, and again, I was surprised how red it actually is. So, so I probably would already be registered if I was still where I was at. But my leanings are, I don't like to say I'm part of any party. Like the way that I look at it is that I'm always going to go for what the policies are and what the president or whoever, what the people are doing. So this year I would vote Trump, but say like in another election, it could be a blue person maybe. Because, the thing about the Democrats, I think you mentioned this earlier, they weren't always evil, So I think Kennedy might have been part of the Democrat. I can't remember what Kennedy was.
I think he was Democrat. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I would never say like, oh, I'm part of any. I'm going to go based on who's running and whether their policies, where things are going to go. So if Trump was all this New World Order stuff, I would be going the other way. You know.
Right.
So but I do think in general, I think that I'm more likely would be more so into like more Republican or conservative views, because I learned a lot too about the difference. And you know, when I came to Idaho is very different from Connecticut. Connecticut's very blue. It's close to New York City. And even when I came here, I can see that the highways, the roads are clean. Like people value stuff around here. And that's because, not to say this in an offensive way, but in a lot of blue states, a lot of blue people have the ideas of tax the hell out of the rich and just give up more free benefits and things like that. And sometimes in blue areas, at least where I was at, people don't care so much about things. Oh, the government will take care of that. Oh, the government will do that. So when I come in a red state, I get to see like everything is kept up better. Everybody values things more. People just mind their own business more. And I think that there should be incentive for people to make more money. Like if you want to go to school to be a doctor and you go through 10 years of med school and you make a bunch of money, you shouldn't be penalized for that and have to pay more because you make more to give to other people. I think that there has to be incentive. So I'm all for, hey, you make more money, keep that money. You shouldn't have to give it over to less fortunate people. And I think that a lot of red politics are more involved in that kind of mentality of not so much just give away and just tax rich people all the time and make them suffer, because then they're just going to go overseas anyway and make their businesses, and there's going to be less jobs. So I think a lot of red politics to me make more sense. But yeah, so I would definitely have more of a leaning to the red side, definitely.
Right. And you have to look at your state because it could be a closed primary. So you would have to register for the candidate that you want to vote for.
Yeah.
So like in Florida, if I want to vote for Trump, I have to be a Republican. I cannot be independent or any other party. So that's the only reason why I always talk about this. Look up the laws in your state, definitely register. You can do same person registration, same day voting. You can do it online. Check up your the laws in your state, because that's very important. But I agree with you. I'm definitely going to vote for Trump. I did in 2020. That was my very first time voting for president. And then I did my local elections. I voted for DeSantis, Marco Rubio. I didn't really know about them back then, but I'm digging deeper. And this time around, I am going to be voting for different senators, because I do think that those senators are a little bit in the swamp. Like me and Jimmy talk about this in other streams. But yeah, I think that's why I do this. It's interesting. We should be talking about these people more. And I hope you do vote, Quinn. I really do hope that you do, because I want to see all of us do that, like that picture, like, oh, I got the sticker for voting, hashtag whatever. Like, since we've never been able to do that, it brings me a little bit of pride and accomplishment, and like we actually participated, we did something as a group and together. And these are the streams leading up to election day. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna definitely do a stream for election night, see who the president is gonna be. Like, it's gonna be fun and interesting. So I really hope that you do. Everybody's like saying different things in the comments. Everybody's being funny. Miss T says, I hope you don't vote. I mean, this is the whole point of me doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's to get people a little bit more excited about voting, a little bit more informed about voting, because the more you know, the better you're going to vote. And especially local elections. That's one of the most important elections you can do. Your mayor, your governor, your city, whatever, your school board. You know what I mean? Like, those are the most important ones in your county, So I think that, especially your sheriff. You could vote for your sheriff too. Like, listen, I'm on it. I'm on Twitter. I'm on, YouTube. I'm trying to get involved. Oh my goodness, Quinn, thank you so much for coming on stream with me. I know that you have another project you're going to be doing after this one, but I loved all of your information, Quinn, and we need to do a part 2, because there was another topic that we didn't dive into, and I really, really want to dive into that with you. So let me
Yeah,
know
just
whenever you're
let me know.
free.
Maybe in a couple weeks. Yeah,
Yes.
just definitely. I look forward to it.
All right, everybody. So I am going to let everybody go. Thank you for the comments. Thank you to Quinn for taking out time out of his schedule to do this with me. Very spontaneous, very informative. This is how I really do my streams. You know, it's organic, it's raw, it's live. You know what I mean? Like, I'm giving you all of my thoughts and opinions as they come. And this is what I want for our community, is to be more convicted in what you believe in. Stand up for what you believe in, even if it is opposite than what I do or anybody else does. Stand up for what you believe in. So I'm going to play the outro, and have a good night, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Bye.